The Drop with Frank and Brian is officially brought to you by Switch Suspension. Switch Suspension specializes in all vehicle chassis components. Lift kits, lowering kits, air ride suspension, wheels, tires, steering, and brake upgrades. They use all the best products from the best brands. And these guys are truck guys. You roll into their parking lot at the shop and they all drive custom vehicles. So they use their products that they sell on their own vehicles. So if you guys are looking for anything for your vehicles, whether you're just starting out or you just need some replacement parts or whatever, give them a call or visit their website, switchsuspension.com.
Hope you enjoyed this episode of The Drop. If you like these podcasts and all the other content we create, head on over to our websites and purchase merch. Purchasing merch keeps us going and creating more content. Our websites are grinder-tv.com and livelifecustom.com. We really appreciate it. Now on to the episode. All right. I don't actually know exactly what order these episodes are going to go into, so
it doesn't matter. These are just guest episodes.
These are guest episodes. But we have to say this is the first. Whatever happens, whatever order this comes on, this is the first episode we're filming. We're here at the Drop Cabin in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. This is the Drop Cabin, and we're sitting with our first guest. It may be the third. I don't know.
Are you already going?
Welcome, Phil Fowler.
Going. Oh, fuck, dude.
Welcome to the episode.
I didn't mean to cuss.
No, you can cuss. Well, light cussing.
Can we start over there?
No, we're good. Anyway, yeah, welcome to The Drop. We're here at the Drop Cabin. Just got to Maggie Valley, North Carolina. We're sitting with Phil Fowler, our friend here from the East Coast, an East Coast homie.
Yes.
We do a lot of West Coast homies, so this is our kind of opportunity to do East Coast homies.
Yes.
So we're sitting here with Phil, and Phil is actually the main reason we're sitting here right now.
There's two main reasons. One's you, because we talked, I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I get here on Monday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's wild. And then last year I was like, okay, let's do this. And the other reason was I saw a picture of someone with an ice cream cone.
Oh,
They were sitting next to the river somewhere with an ice cream cone. And I go, I want to do that. Because every time we get out here, it's just like, go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Absolutely.
So how long have you been coming to Maine, first of all?
So I used to go to Mini Nats originally back in Pigeon Forge. I would say 98, probably 98 through 2002 or 3, whenever it stopped being there. And then I hadn't been for years, and then I started coming here. I want to say it was 2016.
Okay. When was the first one in Maggie Valley?
I want to say 2014. I'm not positive on that, but I know Jason had taken over the show, and he brought it for here, and I don't know how well it did initially, but I knew when I came, I was just like, man, this is something magical. Just because, the atmosphere, the town, everything about it is just amazing. It's really something special. There's something magical about this place, and the scenery, the town just opens up and allows us to take over. And where else? I mean, I've been doing this for 32 years. There's no place, other than Showfest back in Greenville, which was just chaos. But
yeah, it was a different time. And I think that if this was here and when we were that age, it would have not lasted long.
Right. And I definitely think that there's, I definitely think there's some maturity that's come along with a lot of us, because you don't see a lot of new guys so much, but, I'm going to be 50 this year. A lot of guys that I've seen for the past 30 years, some guys are coming back around and but there's not a lot of guys that are just starting out. You don't see a lot of 18, 19-year-old kids. You do see some, but the abundance of this whole scene is guys our age.
Yeah, we kind of came to that conclusion a while ago. It's like we're kind of all just growing together, Yeah. We talk a lot about new people coming into the scene and younger people, and it's just not really a thing. So you just kind of got to be comfortable with yep, this is the people that we're here, that we know, and that we're always going to kind of grow up with. You know?
So it's really cool because a lot of us have grown up together, But when you look at not seeing the new guys getting into the scene, it's the cost, to build a truck. Let's face it, 30 years ago, you could lower your truck, roll pan, put a system in it, do a couple little mods. And it was cool. Guys were showing it, and it was fun. Now, the builds are incredible.
Right.
Next level, street rod quality. It's insane. So,
do you think, we've said this before, but the reason that there aren't a lot of younger guys getting into the scene is it's kind of our fault, because we have set this bar so high on some of these builds that when someone does come in with just a lowered truck, they're not as accepted. It's like there's this pressure that they need to build this body dropped in bag thing.
Yeah.
Well,
I see, like, and it's a shame because I've seen older guys and just guys with really nice trucks and stuff kind of blow off kids that are just getting started. And I've always frowned upon that just because I don't care if you got a cover truck or you got an 83 Primered S10. You're doing the same thing. Like, you're enjoying it. Like, embrace those kids, build them up, and, you know, show them the way. Like, yeah, it's not easy to just say, I'm going to dump all this money to full build and paint and interior and wheels and, you know, but, like, you know, guide these kids and show them the way, because it's been such a great opportunity and thing for all of us. Like, they should be able to enjoy that.
Right, because we didn't start out building the things that are being built now.
Not at all.
Oh, yeah.
But we get to a point, like, especially in truck clubs in general, like, we have this thing where, like, you have to be this to get into our club.
Yeah, you need these, like, things. You need to fit this criteria kind of thing.
Yeah. And we've kind of, like, excluded some of these people that we were when we first started.
Right.
That's why I was saying
Yeah,
that.
but it's kind of interesting how things have changed, because, like, when I got into the scene, it was, like, 3 mods, you know, like,
yeah.
And they were, like, you could have, like, tint, like, wheels and a stereo, you know, and that was it. So, but like you were saying, we've sort of, like, evolved into this thing, into this, like, into this version of ourselves that is, like, too, like you said, kind of like a really high bar kind of thing. But
well, let's start with that, with that, like, you starting out in the scene, where you live, so how was it around your area, like, what truck did you drive? Like, let's kind of get into that.
All right, so I got my first mini truck in 1993. It was Ford Ranger, not the same one I still have currently, but it was a square body Ford Ranger. And I actually didn't particularly like lowered trucks back in the day. There was a guy, Franny Warner, who was one of the original founders of Low Rollers, my club, and he used to ride around the neighborhood, and he had a Ranger that was lowered a little bit with ground effects and a drip paint job, big system. And I remember he rode by. We all have that one vehicle that did it for us, and that was it. That was just like, holy crap, what the hell is that? Like, it was like, from that point, I was just, I gotta know what that was. And so I was hooked, you know, and I knew his brother-in-law, and just kind of got to know those guys. And Low Rollers actually started, it was 3 Ford Rangers and a Mazda. So, you know, I was the 4th Ford Ranger there. So it was just really cool to get with those guys. But I got logoed in 94.
So you didn't start Low Rollers?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. So I actually have the original logo, the original window and back window hanging in my garage.
The original. That's from cool.
Like
the founder?
From the founder.
Oh,
Marco.
Nice.
I still talk to some of those guys. Actually, I work with Franny and Marco. I speak to him, and, you know, they're all really proud, and it's cool for them to see what this has grown into.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, as being a small club out of Delaware.
Yeah.
You know, which is cool. So
Delaware, right? So it's just a part of the country that doesn't get a lot of love in the automotive community, really, in general.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I know of, but mini trucking especially.
Well, a lot of guys don't know where Delaware is. like I mean, that's the reality of it.
That's hilarious,
you guys may not. You know, most people are like, well,
can you point to this on a map? And people
Right.
are like, well, that's California, that's Texas. I don't really know.
Yeah.
where
right.
this is.
You
That's
know,
funny.
they know where Florida is. Or like, I always just tell people, like, you know where Philadelphia is? We're just below that. Like,
Yeah.
we fell out of Pennsylvania. However, we are the first state in the union.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah. I always
but-
thought you were from Maryland, though. Is that?
Yeah, what's
like
funny is, so Delaware surrounded by Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. You know, we're right there in the cluster of those states. But a lot of people, because we hosted a show, and our show was in Jersey. You know, which through that part of Delaware, you drive 15 minutes in any way direction, you're in Maryland, Delaware, or Maryland, Pennsylvania, or New Jersey.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty small state, but
Yeah. I dig your accent. Like, I mean, we've talked so many times before, and it's just like, I dig the accent. I feel like I'm talking to Bam Margera.
do I have an accent?
Yes, you do. You sound exactly like Bam Margera.
That's funny. So Bam's actually not far from us. Like, he, you know, is from Westchester, which is about 35, 40 minutes from where I used to live in Delaware. But
That's cool.
You
You ever
where
run
you
into
used to
him?
live in Delaware. It's probably not far from where you now live in Delaware, because everything's close.
well,
right?
yeah. So I'm 30 miles south of where
Yeah.
I was initially. But
Right on.
have I run into him? No. I do have a lot of mutual friends that know him. You know,
that's
I'm
cool.
a skater. And,
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in the skate community. And
Oh, you skateboarded when you were a kid? Oh, that's
yeah.
sick.
I still do,
Oh,
actually.
you do?
Yeah,
you get
yes,
down?
I
Oh,
do.
that's tight.
I do.
Heck
So,
yeah. I
but,
try. Like, So I delved into like getting back in it because I skateboarded all through my youth, all through high school, and didn't after that got a girlfriend basically and just didn't skateboard anymore, and didn't skate for a long time, and then I was like in my late 30s or something. I can't remember when it was, but I was like, I'm gonna get back on a board and mess around. So I go to the skate park, I start pumping around, I'm doing okay, and then I kind of like stumble and I hit my hand on the ground and it hurt my wrist. My whole like industry relies on me doing this.
Right.
So I was like, I can't do this. I cannot risk messing up my freaking wrist.
All right, so let me take that back. I'm starting to skate again.
Oh,
I used to skate all the time, but I'm getting back into it. Now, I snowboard quite a bit, usually. This year was a little different. Maybe we'll touch on that a little later. But I didn't get to go this year. But my thing was, if I can still snowboard, and why can't I skateboard? Because other than mini trucks, that's my favorite thing like I've ever did.
Oh, cool.
Up and I have a huge collection of skateboards hanging in my garage. And
so you skated mainly like probably late 80s, early 90s kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like what were some of the skaters that you looked up to?
Like Tony Hawk.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, Pal Peralta, Street,
Santa Cruz.
Yeah, that's all.
Gator.
All that area.
Yeah.
My skate era was like the late 90s. So mine was like Muska, Costin, Chet Thomas, like all those dudes.
Yeah.
Like out of the kind of like, because there were still like double-tailed boards like in the late 80s, early 90s, but it was still kind of like a mix.
Yep.
So like I was in that era of double-tailed boards and very like technical skating. So not like a lot of ramps or bowls or like skate parks and stuff. It was like benches and ledges and like a lot of like tech skating.
A lot of street skating.
You're riding a skateboard again?
Yeah. Actually,
awesome.
usually have one in the back of my car.
It's very difficult.
I know, but
you were told.
It is difficult, but you don't. It's just trust me when you're.
Share this one with Phil.
Okay.
And then we're gonna put that.
People that are listening don't know, but when you touch the table, it just goes through these mics.
Yeah.
Eventually, we'll need to get something where the mics hang.
Well, we are sitting in an Airbnb. We can't be too.
This is the drop cabin, dude.
It happened.
It happened.
The drop cabin.
Yeah,
But no, I was talking about skateboarding because I have recently got a couple of skateboards and stuff, and I'm just like looking at it and going.
Have you been tempted? You've been tempted to get on?
What do you mean?
Like tempted to get on a skateboard and start skating around?
Yeah. That's all I used to do was skateboard.
Yeah.
And so I'm BMX and skateboarding, but I am so scared of breaking my wrist.
Yeah.
Because
don't put them out.
Yeah.
Don't put them out.
Just fall on your face.
Just break your face.
Fall on your arm. You know what I mean? As a skater, you got to learn to fall. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's my problem is I don't want to fall.
Well, because we don't heal as much as we.
Don't heal
it
as
hurts
much,
a lot.
and then-
It hurts a lot worse.
Yeah, and I can't just be not. I don't have sick time.
And we're a lot bigger than we used to be.
Yeah, they fall a lot harder than we used to. So I keep looking at the skateboard and I go, I'm going to build like a heavier duty one, like get me like a nice one. And I go, no, I'm not even going to tempt myself.
Just get a nice wide board and start cruising around. You know. So I was just at the skate park probably a week and a half ago, and this first time since everything I went through this winter. So I was just kind of cruising around a little bit, just trying to get my feet back under me, and the mini ramp was wet. But I kind of want to just live on the mini ramp, like I'll do some stuff on the street, but generally I just want to
pump around.
I just want to go down the sidewalks without hitting a pebble.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's my biggest fear.
Bigger wheels and softer wheels, you'll be fine.
Yeah. What are you riding right now?
So I have a shop deck, a Switch skateboarding shop in Newark, Delaware. It's one of their shop decks. It's a graphics of Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But
cool.
And of course,
did you post
Indie
something
trucks.
recently about that?
I probably did. Post it, on my Instagram or something. I don't post much on there, but
that's cool, man. That's super cool.
So we're kind of all over the place here. We went from
no, it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Hey,
So I'm Phil.
We'll circle back around.
Let's circle back to like you said, the first Ranger that you had, and then the current Ranger that you had. How did that transition into that? What it is now, and you've had it for a long time. Like I want to get into that. Like it's one of the like usually you don't see someone that has the same truck for a very long time. Like what's your plans? But I want to start kind of at the beginning.
Yeah. So all right. So I got that 1990 Ford Ranger. Back in '93 when I graduated high school. Started customizing that. I was actually the first one in Delaware with hydraulics back in '94.
You do them yourself, or?
No, I had a guy do them
Yeah.
because I didn't know how to do them at the point, and slowly figured out how to do this stuff, as things were going on. But Did a walkthrough, big system, all that stuff. It was primered for years. Of course, shaved handles, body mods. It was all the things. Always just had a lot of fun with that truck, and eventually got it painted and was enjoying it, but kind of wanted to start with a fresh canvas. And I really love square body Rangers, so I bought another Ranger stock. I wanted to just, because a lot of times it's not worth getting into something and going backwards. And, I got to cut this out to redo this. And I think you actually were just talking about that on,
I
think
going
one of your
through
Tacoma.
that right
your
now.
Tacoma episode. So,
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. So a fresh canvas and a fresh start is usually better than going over something. If you got to redo things, it's a lot of times not worth it.
Yeah.
So, so I started the fresh canvas and in '99 with the current Ranger I have. So it's crazy to think that I've had that truck for that long.
That's the wild part to me is like I know people have their trucks for a long time, but like the same truck.
Yeah. So, I guess the original Ranger. So yeah, I stopped driving it in '99 and I built this other one, and through various stages, just enjoyed it. And then, finally finished it in 2011 and debuted it, painted, two-toned, with interior and everything, which I couldn't believe. I actually had a finished
Where did it debut
truck
and all that stuff?
laid out in the park.
Okay.
In Morristown, Tennessee.
Yep.
That was 2011. And then it was shot for the cover of Mini Truckin', and it graced the cover January 2012, which was...
As the two-tone paint job? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
So my Ranger and another guy, Tommy Pearson from NC, Maryland, both of our trucks were both on the cover together, so it was really cool.
Okay.
It was like an achievement unlocked. I always dreamed of having a feature truck. It's just something, but to get on the cover, that was
really cool.
awesome. That was awesome. So
for your first time, because it was also on the cover in its current state,
nope.
Or no, it's not.
It's never been shot in its current state.
Never.
Oh, really?
No.
Why did
that
I
is
swear
surprising?
Yeah.
Actually, well, Phil Gordon did shoot it, and was supposed to run in street trucks, and I don't think I ever filled out the tech article. I don't really care. I mean? So it's not on Phil Gordon at all. Like, it was me, and I'm just not worried about it being on the cover. Like, I don't need trophies. I don't need recognition. I love my truck. It's, I built it for me. I enjoy it. If people like it, that's awesome. I love seeing everybody else's reaction and pictures and, stuff of it. Cause it's really cool because I appreciate it, but I don't need any recognition or images in the magazine or nothing like that. I don't really care anymore. I've been doing this a long time. So it means more to somebody else that's getting started or something. And at this point, that truck's been built like that since 2015 to its current state. So 10 years this year.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
So, which is crazy.
Do you ever, as someone who's had a truck for a really long time, and because you're kind of similar in a different way, but as someone who's had a truck for a really long time, do you ever get bored of it? Like you're always like, whenever you drive it, are you stoked to drive it?
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
I love it. I really do. I love it. It's my happy place. If I get it,
because you built what you wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just enjoy driving it, and I skate that thing everywhere. Like I just ride low as shit. So it's just cool just seeing everybody driving down the road with the cameras out the window and stuff. It's pretty cool.
What now do you drive it a lot during is there a show season up there?
There is, and shows have become more scarce. We used to have show season from like April to October, on the on the East Coast. In the Northeast, like we hosted our own show for 20 years, which we'll probably touch into that. But there's just not a lot anymore.
It's kind of like that everywhere,
which is a shame.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like I wouldn't miss this show, and I always tell everybody if I'm not here, check on my well-being because something's wrong. Because I love the show. I will be here no matter what.
Mm-hmm. We kind of had that conversation on the way up here. Like on the West Coast, there's not a lot of mini truck shows, but there's a lot of shows.
Right.
So you kind of, as a mini trucker, you kind of have to. There's as far as just mini truck based shows, there's not a ton around the country. There's still a lot, but not a ton. Mm-hmm. So you just kind of have to. Are there other events? Do you go to what's that big one that's in? I think it's in Pennsylvania.
Carlisle All Truck Nats.
Oh yeah.
So Carlisle All Truck Nats used to be the staple in the Northeast or the Mid-Atlantic region, whatever you want to refer to it as. But that was like our go-to show back in the day. And like we used to roll, our club used to go up there with like 40, 50 trucks deep.
Because I saw pictures. Because I was Bobby Moore was telling me about Carlisle.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, he goes, Dropmore comes up and does really good. He goes, you guys should try to come up and check it out. So I started looking at photos and stuff, and that's where I saw pictures of your truck there and everything.
Yeah. So we stopped going, and I never discourage anybody from going to a show. Like, and I don't want a little disclosure there. Go to every show. It's just not for me anymore. I just think that show, we refer to it as the All Stock Nationals.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's why I was like, when I saw your guys' trucks, I was like, oh, there's some cool trucks. I go, because everything was just stock trucks.
Yeah.
Like literally stock
It's more
trucks.
like locals and stuff coming in.
Yeah, it's I mean, there's thousands of trucks. Like it's incredible, and there's monster trucks. I mean, you want to go to a show that has it all. Monster trucks,
Diesel
huge
trucks.
swap meet, tractor trailers, like all kind, like really cool vans show up, like which
like
is
a real like truck show.
Yeah, it was awesome back in the day, and it kind of lost its luster. And then a few years ago, when we stopped doing our show, guy Shannon Hipple that was in Diverse Rides, they started doing a show, and then they stopped doing their show and kind of got with Carlisle and started doing this low show at Carlisle. It was like a show within a show, and it brought like all the mini truckers back, and like not all of them, but a ton of mini truckers came back, and like we had our own separate area, but they really don't care that we're there.
Yeah.
Like it was like the town's expensive, the show's expensive, and I feel like I'm dogging the show, and I
No,
don't
because
want to be.
you just gotta be
there's shows
honest,
like that. You know what I mean? Like Good Guys is kind of like that. Where it's just expensive and it just becomes this thing that outgrows the original thing that it was,
Right.
and then it's hard to get back into it. But I just was curious how that was.
Yeah, it was awesome back then.
Yeah.
Well, I used to go there on Wednesday, and we would camp.
Yeah.
And camping was awesome back in the day, and then it just became crazy.
What
It got out of control, and then everybody stayed in hotels, and it was still a lot of fun for many years.
So tell us about your event.
So we started doing a show because as mini truckers, like we're a truck club, like all trucks,
Yeah.
never any chapters, we're just we'll be in Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, in that immediate area and, the region of the country. But we were going to shows, and it was like, you're taking a truck to the show and people are like, oh, what's this? They didn't know what it was, and what's a body drop? And, it's just like,
There's nothing for mini trucks.
There wasn't. Oh, if you didn't have a 67 Camaro or an old Chevelle, like, there was nothing that was like, man, this isn't for
You're just
us.
going to theirs, and you just felt out of place. And
so we started the Low Rollers End of Summer Bash, which, and maybe I'm partial, but I believe that everybody out there would kind of agree. It was a staple for the Northeast as far as a truck show. Like, it was never an official all truck show, but mini truckers carried that show for 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't care if it was 110 degrees outside, well, it never gets that hot. It's not Phoenix. But if it was 100 degrees outside and blistering hot, or if it was monsoon, mini truckers were always there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it was awesome. We had a blast doing it. And after 20 years, it was like, we had peaks and valleys of attendance, and everybody always expected to be there. And then we announced that we were going to do the last one. At 15 years, we were like, we're going to get to 20 and then call it quits.
Yeah.
And I miss it. I miss it every day. You know what I mean? Like, I really do.
Was it just the time? Was it just a time between the club? You guys were just like, we're.
Well, everybody's getting older, and it's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot of stress, and I always look at shows because you can't control Mother Nature, as we see.
Yeah, I know.
And you see people like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it because it's going to rain. It's like, dude, the show's still going on. The vendors are still coming. The food vendors, goods, everybody.
But it gets taxing on the staff itself.
Exactly. So it's a
club.
lot. Yeah, it is. And I always tell people, and they'd ask me, hey, I'm thinking about doing a show. I'm like, it'll make you love each other and hate each other. You guys will argue over the dumbest things.
Yeah.
I tell we have a couple chapters of our club, and they're like, hey, we're going to do an event. And I'm like, look, just because we do an event, you doesn't mean you have to do an event. I'm all, but you have to remember, this can make and break a group of people.
100%.
And because what happens is you'll have this group of people that likes doing the show, this group of people that doesn't, because you didn't get in a truck club to throw a show. You got in a truck club to hang out and go to shows. So it changes the whole dynamic. And some people like to throw the show, some people don't. And then the people that do will say, oh, well, this person, they didn't really do much. And then it's just like,
it turns into
into this whole thing. And
that's the biggest thing.
he
he didn't do nothing all day.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah, and
I'm not
you're
going to chase people around and police them. How many people did you talk to? Did you park? How many cars did you park? You know, how many vehicles did you judge?
When we threw our show at Lake Paris Fairgrounds, it was all hands on deck. We needed everybody there.
Yeah.
But it got to that point, like in 2014, 15, 13, 14, 15 people in the club I could see they were just like not happy to come to the show.
Yeah. Right. Just kind of going through the motions.
Just kind of going through. They were just like, hey, people were starting to have kids. They were just like, this is not important to me. It's not fun anymore. So that's when we decided to make the change to Laughlin. And now it's all voluntary. And the people that do throw the show, that do work the show, I tell them, you can't complain about the people that are drinking and partying.
Right.
I said, if you do, then you're not going to work the show anymore. So just know that there's going to be people working and partying. And because that's the only way to like keep it going. Yeah. Because if you have a big show and you need all hands on deck, it's hard. It's
a lot of work. Yeah. And we need these shows. As many truckers, like, you know, we need these events because, for one, it inspires new people. It inspires people to stay active doing this. And as we're all getting older and life's changing, and, you know, I mean, my family's grown at this point. My oldest or my youngest is turning 18 in a couple weeks, you know, so it's like.
I'm kind of in that similar boat,
my
too.
Kids are grown up. So, but I've never skipped a beat. Like, I've never.
Yeah, me neither.
I've never stopped going to shows. Like, I mean, since I started at 17 years old, like, it was just like, I love this. And I love the people.
It's just like part of your life. It's the same thing with me, you know.
I've traveled the country. I've been from here to, you know, we went to California to the Lake Paris show in 2007. There was 40 of us from the East Coast that flew out there.
That's cool.
It was awesome. And, you know, we went to the show and hung out there a bunch and, you know, went around and toured a bunch of stuff around California because we'd never been. Yeah. It was like, man, this is incredible. Used to go out to
07. What was there in 07?
07 was before the giveaway truck because that was 08. Yeah, 07. I don't have much
like
of a
the
recollection.
Go Easy bus there. I'm trying to think. Anyways, yeah. It was that was peak time for that show. That Paris.
It was awesome.
Yeah, mid 2000s.
Awesome. It was really cool, and the fact that 40 of us, you know, from that Northeast region, Pennsylvania, everybody, you know, flying out of Baltimore and Philadelphia and just New York and just flying out there. We all met up together, all rented cars, and you know, it was all different clubs. Like, you know, we had probably like 10 different clubs of just people just like, oh, I want to go.
That's
so it was
cool.
It was just a lot of fun, and it was we made memories together. Excuse me, made memories together that, you know, I'll remember forever.
Yeah,
you know, and you know, I still talk to all these guys. You know what I mean? I'm just thankful. Like, this whole thing has taken me all over the country, and I've met people literally all over the world because of these silly little trucks.
Yeah,
you know, it's not about trophies. It's not about it's about this. You know, it's about, you know, that conversations and the bonds and the friendships that you make along the way. It's just awesome. Like,
it's cool. More. One of my favorite things being now in my late 40s and being in my club for so long and is just watching everyone's path. Yeah. And seeing like this person is now doing this, whether they're in the truck scene or not in the truck scene anymore. Yeah. But just watching everyone's path, and then you all still have those memories. Yeah. And like our show is kind of our get together every year, and we just sit there and talk about. A lot of us are still doing the things, and then a lot of people are coming back around now because their kids are older and they're kind of doing all that. But coming out here for doing this week thing and just the road trip out here and just that's what this whole thing is.
Yeah, there's like we just ran into a really interesting little thing today. We were at Walmart picking up some stuff for the B&B here, and this lady says, "Hey, y'all here for the little trucks?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're here for the little trucks." And she's like, "Oh, that's cool." And we walked away saying, "It's like, yeah, that's our whole existence is these trucks, you know, like that's little trucks,
cheap trucks that you're supposed to get when you're, you know what I mean? Like these inexpensive trucks that everyone puts all this money into and all this stuff and then travels all over the place.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's really cool just continuing on with that, you know. Yeah. So awesome. Being on the East Coast, like. The type of shows, like, were there, because like I don't know much about the East Coast, like this is pretty much as far east as I've ever been, and previous to this I've never actually, you know, traveled out this way or anything. So coming up through the scene in like the mid 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, what kind of shows were there on the East Coast? Were there 3-day truck runs? Was it mainly 1-day shows?
Well, so our show was a 2-day show.
Okay.
You know, which people would come on Friday. You know, our show was Saturday and Sunday.
It seemed like the East Coast, because that's where I got the 2-day shows. Like the West Coast was always 1-day shows. Yeah. Because we were so spoiled that we didn't have to drive far.
Yeah. Well, I was talking more like truck runs.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Carlisle All Truck Nash was, so that was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the West Coast had truck runs, 3-day runs, and 1-day shows.
Right.
Where the East Coast, they weren't technically truck runs.
That's what I'm saying.
They were just 2-day shows.
Yeah.
Show up on Friday, shows Saturday, Sunday, and then you go home. Mm-hmm. And then we tried to do that with the Forbidden Show, with Saturday, Sunday, and it messed like it confused people. They were like, "Wait, what's going on?"
First in the beginning when it turned into like a hotel, like basically what I figured was like on the West Coast we had 3-day truck runs that were you camped at
the East Coast,
and then the East Coast did hotels,
Yeah.
and Forbidden was one of the very first shows to kind of like take that idea and bring it to the West Coast,
Right.
And it did take a little while, but after a while, people were like, "Oh, this is pretty nice."
Yeah, because that's what I liked. I like going out to the East Coast, going to the hotel, and everyone comes back to the hotel and just hangs out in the parking lot all night. Like
It's awesome.
that was my favorite thing, and that only happened on the East Coast.
Right.
So like coming up and growing up in the East Coast, like what shows? I guess like you were saying, like what was it like being a mini trucker on the East Coast?
Right. Yeah.
It was awesome. I mean, of course, I've always traveled. Like I started traveling to shows like far. Like I went to Nopi Nationals in '95.
But you had
cool.
to
You know.
as an East Coast mini trucker.
There was shows, but it wasn't like truck shows.
Yeah.
Not that Nopi was a truck show, but it was just you'd find more stuff that was more catered to your interests. You know what I mean? It wasn't just hot rods and muscle cars.
Yeah.
So, and Nopi was huge. But you Indy Truck Bash. Which isn't in the East Coast, but
Those were the type of shows you were going to.
Carlisle Truck Nationals was the show.
Yeah.
And then there was Jersey Jambo, and there was
When
Nationals.
When
There was
did
a lot of
truck
them.
shows start to kind of take hold? Like, was it All Star Event or Laid Out the Park or that one? Like, when did truck shows start to take hold?
So we took. Well, I mean, we were going to Carlisle. Started first year in '93.
Yeah.
My first year was there in '94. So we were going to truck shows then.
Yeah.
But we started our show in '97.
Okay.
So and it was all mini truckers. Like, dude, we sold Joe Corby's pizzas. Like grown men, even at the time, we were 18, 19, 20 years old, but selling Joe Corby's pizzas to fund the show because we didn't do sponsors. We did everything. It was all DIY. We didn't.
Cool.
So it was cool. Like it was kind of.
But what is a Joe Corby pizza?
So it's like
Good question.
So it's a fundraising kits.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's like these pizza kits that like. I wouldn't say Girl Scouts or somebody would sell, but like like schools would sell them. Kids would come home. So I don't know if you guys have fundraisers like that on the West Coast.
Yeah. I just never heard of a pizza one.
Yeah. So so we sold these pizza kits. So it's all mini truckers going around, and they were taking them to work, and asking family and friends to, So I would get a truck would pull up to my parents' house, and we'd unload pallets of pizzas, and everybody's got to be at the house.
Like frozen pizzas, or
they're frozen pizza kits.
Oh, okay.
So it was like a DIY pizza kit, but like we funded our show by doing that, like because we didn't have sponsors, and
it makes sense, like Jersey pizza.
Well, I just when you said that when you guys were like, we were selling pizzas, I thought it was at the show.
No.
Like, okay,
No,
I'm glad you like clarified that because it was a little confusing.
This was fundraiser to host the show. So when so our first show, we were approached by these guys. It was their club was called Ninja Street Machine, and it's just a couple older guys, really just a bunch of random stuff. But they were like, "Hey, look, we wanted to kind of do a cruise night thing. We're looking for another club to get involved with us to kind of help us out." And we're like, okay. And I knew the guy, Ricky, from being around for years, just seeing him at shows. And I was like, yeah, we could probably help you out with something like that. So I talked to everybody and like, yeah. So we did the one show in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. Of course, we're from Delaware, but we did a show in Pennsylvania. And we did like 9 shows leading up to the September end of Summer Bash. That was the show where we'd have trophies and everything, because everything else was just a cruise night.
Okay.
So the end of Summer Bash was that September in '97, and then it was kind of different with those guys. And was just like, yeah, that's not working out. And one of the guys in the club, his girlfriend knew of a fairgrounds in New Jersey, and said, "I got a place," because we're like, we want to do a show, but we need to find a place. And the Salem County Fairgrounds in Woodstown, New Jersey, is awesome. Like it's a little farm town. People think of Jersey, like, oh, Southern Jersey's farms.
Yeah,
South Jersey's farms.
Mike Trout is from Jersey, and everybody's like, oh, he's just this farm boy from Jersey. And when I think of New Jersey, I think like New York, and New Jersey.
Dirty,
So I'm like,
a dirty city.
Well, I was gonna say that, but I don't. Yeah, I don't think of farm country when I think of New Jersey.
I mean, so right across the street from our fairgrounds, well, not our fairgrounds, but the fairgrounds where we host the show, is a rodeo.
Oh, interesting.
So yes, so there. I mean, it's farms and hillbillies.
Yeah. So when they talk
really
about like rural Pennsylvania and that, like that's what they're talking about, like that kind of stuff.
It's like not everything's Philadelphia, New York City,
right?
Yeah. Upstate New York.
Well, this is the same thing in California too, because when you think of California, you think of Los Angeles or San Francisco.
Yep.
You don't think of freaking Visalia, where it's nothing but farms and stuff.
Or Northern California, where it's just like this, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we started doing our show then, and it was all mini truckers that hosted us, and we knew everybody from back then, just because we were at every show that was in the area, and we were a pretty big club, and just all mini trucks, and like we were friends with everybody, and that's kind of how I always felt the East Coast and the West Coast kind of differed. Is when we came out there, we were kind of surprised that. Like, you guys didn't hang with each other. I'm not you guys, but the different clubs. Like, when you go to a hotel, like, I mean, even here, but up there, like, it didn't matter if you were low rollers, negative camber, grounded for life, whatever club, everybody was friends. Acrophobia. I mean, just everybody's friends. Everybody hangs out. We all live in the same areas, and we all go to the same shows, and we were just friends, So it was
that it was a thing. It's different now.
Yeah, it's different now. Like, maybe I'm looking at it through like rose-colored glasses because it is different now, and I feel that way. But yeah, probably back then. Because what era are you talking about? Like
07 when we came out there.
Okay,
it was
it was.
I'm not talking bad about the West Coast guys.
No.
Like
we can.
Yeah,
but it was like it was kind of like a gang member mentality. Like I'm not gang member, but like
it was very.
There was definitely some guys that we're like, how come you guys aren't hanging out with those guys? And we're like, we don't get down like that. And we're like, what? And here's we got 10 different clubs all hanging out together. We're like, oh yeah, that's cool. That was like everybody had each other's shirts. Like it didn't matter.
That was one of my favorite things. I forgot what shows that when I first started going out there it was like 0506 when I had Grindr magazine.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone at the hotels, it was just a mesh of people. And whereas like when you come out to our show, there was just like the Severed Hotel, the relaxed guys were over here, this and that. It was very, and now like at our show at least, the Forbidden Show, since everyone's staying in the same hotel, it is very. But it's still a little. You have the No Regrets guys.
Everybody is kind of. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's got their own camps, but everybody's friends. At least out here. Yeah. And you might have this guy might have difference with that guy, or
I think it started with the West Coast River Runs because everyone had their own camp.
Yeah, because I
didn't venture out into the other camps. But my favorite thing was always, I would just leave my camp and either drive my truck or just me and Ernie Macias.
Yeah,
we would just leave and we would just walk to a camp, and if we didn't even know him, we would just walk into the camp and just sit there.
Yeah, that was a thing too. I think it's just like. It's everything, Yeah. Did this kind of exist on the East Coast during those times? Because coming up, because the beginning of my journey or whatever you want to say in the scene was like early 2000s, like 2001, and so growing up in the scene, I understood that there was like a hierarchy. There were definitely clubs that were up here, and there were clubs that were down here. There was clubs in the middle, and everybody coexisted and got along and knew each other and was cool. But I definitely understood there was a hierarchy. Did that exist on the East Coast?
Not so much.
It was just more
not so much.
Mellow.
Some guys, and maybe because people treated me different, because I've always been friends with everybody. We hosted our own show. I freelanced for Mini Trucking for many years, and as well as other stuff. I mean, like I was, so people kind of may have treated me a little different. Like but some guys may have came off unapproachable to other people, but I don't think people were like that.
Yeah,
and I think it was a misconception. Like people were like, oh, don't talk to those guys, whether they were in this club or that club. Because
when I first got into the scene, like he's talking about going camp to camp, and we would do the same thing, but it would be like within our. Again, like our bracket. So like we'd go hang out with the clubs that are similar to us. Like I would never ever think of going over to Severed's camp in like West Coast in the mid 2000s.
That's crazy.
I would never do that. I'd be like, hell no, I'm gonna get beat up.
See, it was never like that with us. As a matter of fact, like our camping area at Carlisle, like that was the area everybody came. I hosted my own events. I had my own high-low contest. I mean, all kinds of stuff that was going on back then. And we just had, I mean, there was people rolling off because there was like a cliff. And like we would be down in what we call the pit, was right next to the highway. But like we would set up this huge area. I mean, we had like 40 guys that would set up. And like everybody would cruise through, like, you know, I mean, Finnegan was back there back in the day. I mean, you know, like he had an RV back there. Like, I mean, it was just awesome, you know, and like we had our own show within a show. And like I said, I've always been friends with everybody. So
that's cool.
And there was even a few years, not to sound like that guy, but they would refer to it as Phil Lyle. You know, going to Phil Lyle would be, I feel like I'm being that guy, but I'm truly not.
That's cool.
Like in the camping area, be like, oh, we're going to Phil Lyle tonight.
That's
you know what I mean? It was kind of funny, you know, but we just hosted our own thing. And
like you said, like everybody just knew you, and you had at that point been so in the scene so long, so they probably just felt comfortable. Like, you know, like
I'm friends with, I talk to everybody, you know.
That's awesome.
I mean, I just like people, and I'll talk to anybody about their trucks, and you know, it's really I enjoy meeting people and looking at what they did, hear their ideas, how they did that, or why they did it like that, or why didn't they do it like that, you know, or you know.
That brings up an interesting thing too. Again, I'm coming to this conversation as someone who's not very familiar with the East Coast, so like growing up in the scene on the East Coast and building trucks, were you guys influenced a lot by the West Coast? Like,
so everything came from the West Coast,
right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? So seeing, you know, of course, you know, being how long I've been doing this, like when you seen, like I bought my first mini truck in '93, and you know, I remember I didn't buy the January issue. I think it was January Ballistic on the cover, but like that was the one that set the bar. Mm-hmm. You know, like that was like, holy shit, excuse me. Holy crap, what is that? Like, it was just awesome. Like, man, that is, how do we get to that? So everything was bleeding out to the West, you know what I mean? So, or out to the East Coast from the West Coast. So, you know, hats off to Brian Gendro and everybody that paved the way, because, I mean, true pioneers of why we do, you know, and, you know, what other people have figured it out, probably. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, like, give credit where credit's due. Like,
so that's what I'm saying. So you guys
these guys are amazing.
You guys are getting Mini Trucking Magazine, thumbing through it, seeing like you know, like two ballistic, like body drop, you know, like and you're like, okay, we're gonna do this, and then you'd go and do that.
So you would go to a show, you would see a mob, be like, oh, that's cool. I'm going home and I'm shaving my mirrors. I'm shaving my door handle. That guy shaved his antenna. Like going back like '94. Sorry, tapping on the table. You're good. Going through the mic. '94 actually was the first year I met Courtney. You know, or Tito, you know what I mean? Like, and that was at Slam Jam in Fredericksburg, Virginia. That was the year I got Logo too. Oh, cool. But like, so I met him there, and just became friends with, like, if you knew Courtney, you know, like he never knew a stranger. You know what I mean? Like the guy, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And like everybody was a friend, like really. And he was, I don't know, he was somebody that I truly admired and was friends with. I mean, I would call up, when he worked at Mini Truck, and I would call up and talk to him, and you know, anytime he would come out to the East Coast, we would always hang out. You know, we'd go down to Booger Bash and we would hang out, me and, you know, the Low Rollers guys and the Negative Camber guys from Maryland, and usually Chris Schmidt from New York, original camber guy, who's coming back around, which is awesome. You know, such a great dude. But like, you know, hanging out with those guys for years, so it's kind of, you know, we had ties with people from all over because we were traveling.
It was a different time time back then too, because you actually had to go somewhere to like communicate with someone.
I was just about to say that. So like your personality is like really super outgoing and talking to people, and that's probably why you. This is gonna sound weird, but bear with me. It's probably why you've been successful doing this, because you are willing to put yourself out there and go check it out and do something. Yeah. Where like some people can maybe timid or, you know, intimidated. And they're just like, nah, I don't want to do that. But you're like, no, we're going to go do this. Yeah. We're going to go check it out. And then that sort of like has maybe not been successful, but kept you going forward throughout the scene.
Well, so I think that, but also, you know, like, so I met Lance through Courtney. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if we could go into this, I don't know what the structure is here, you know, we start somewhere and then we go, you know, we started, where are you from? Delaware, Low Rollers, and, okay, and then we went on to the store. We go all over.
Which we're going to circle back to that.
We're going to circle back.
So I'm very curious about that.
So I actually met Lance Martz because when I would call to talk to Courtney when he worked at Mini Trucking sometimes.
Like on a physical phone with a number, and you call an office, and then,
So, and Lance knew me from... he put my picture in Mini Laughter. So the first time my photo was in Mini Trucking, I want to say it was '96. in Mini Laughter is my head and a big C-notch.
Mini Laughter? I don't
Yeah.
remember. I remember Mini Truck Graffiti, but before that it was called Mini Laughter?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, God, now you got me question about.
sorry.
I'm almost positive it's Mini
sorry.
Laughter. But
I don't remember Mini Laughter, but I also don't remember a lot of stuff, and I didn't pay attention to a lot of stuff in the magazines in that time. It was when my first truck show and everything was towards the end of 95.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to say it was. I'm betting on this. It was Mini Laughter, but it was. There was something funny, and then there was like what's in the CD changer, and
I remember that.
There was different things in little snippets or whatever. But so that was. So I talked to Lance and got to know him, but that's actually. So you talked about what kept me involved. So I started talking to Lance, and I was talking to Lance one day when I called up to talk to Courtney, and I would bullshit with Lance all the time too. But I called him up, and he was like, "Hey, I'm heading out your way. Are you going to be in Virginia this weekend?" Or I said, "Where are you headed? In Virginia?" He said, "Yeah," which is about 4 hours from me. And I said, I said I wasn't planning on going. I said, "But I'll come hang out." So I went and hung out with Lance for the weekend. With a bunch of people, Ashton Harwood used to put on East Coast Nats. But just talking to him and, we knew each other, so we were friends already. Excuse me. But, I talked to him, like, how did you get involved with the magazine? And, he told me his story, and I said, man, because, admired Courtney, admired him, and, everybody that's been there, Brian McCormick, everybody that's, the ones that were doing the thing. The guys that I looked up to and admired. And I was like, how did you get involved in this? And he was like, well, he says, just get a camera, man, take a photography course and, give it a shot. And so that ended up, because Chris Schmidt used to freelance for Mini Truckin' when Courtney worked there. And there was a Garden State Nats was a show in New Jersey, went on for years. And Chris called me up and he was like, hey, I'm not going to, because he knew I was trying to get involved. I'm not going to that show. Do you want to go cover it? And prior to that, Courtney actually flew out to cover our show in 1998. I'm bouncing all over the place.
Yeah, that's okay.
But so he stayed with us, and by the time that was running, or it was a 98 show. It was the first show in New Jersey. So he was covering the 98 show, but by the time that was running in Mini Truck, and he had left to go on the street trucks. Yep. So Lance had reached out to me and says, hey, I wasn't at your show. Would you mind writing the article for the show? And I was just like, yeah, I guess. So I did that. So that was the first thing I had with just my words in Mini Truckin'. And then it was 99, Garden State Nats. Chris Schmidt wasn't making it. So he said, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it. Do you want to shoot the show? And I was just like, oh my God, super nervous.
That's cool.
It's such a special thing.
Yeah.
Back then to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like shoot a show.
Well, because it's like a process. Like, it's not like taking a bunch of digital photos and uploading them. It was like a whole process.
So I was shooting
this.
slide film, which I had never shot slides. So I went to the store and I bought a bunch of slide film. And of course, I'm young, and it was expensive, but I was just like,
"You're like,
we're going to do it." So I was talking to Chris. I was like, "Look, dude, give me some advice. Like, I don't want to mess this up." And that was the first show that I shot for Mini Truckin'.
That's so cool. And it's just because you went out, you picked up the phone and talking to these dudes. Just
knowing people, and so that got me involved. And I shot or I guess freelanced for Mini Truckin'. I was an employee, but I freelanced for Mini Truckin' from 99 all the way. I had stuff in the last issue.
That's wild.
That's so
cool. Which was cool. And then I also had stuff in street trucks. I've had some stuff in trucking, sport truck.
That's
tailgate.
how I got to know you, because we've talked here and there. We haven't really hung out. But that's how I knew your name, just through like little stuff like, by Phil Fowler, like, put photos by and. Yeah. So
that's always, I still love Mini Trucks and Mini Truckin', like just as much as I did when I was 18 years old.
Yeah,
that's
so cool.
I have a passion for it. I love these little stupid trucks. They're fantastic.
What is it that you like about the trucks? Is it because
I just enjoy the trucks and it's more the people, I would say.
Yeah.
But I really like trucks. Like a lot of guys have moved on to building street rods or whatever, and I just don't have an interest. Like,
I know that.
I like older stuff. Like I think it's all cool, but I just want to build mini trucks.
Yeah.
Like and I do want to build something besides my Ranger. I have something that I'm trying to do. But I definitely, circling back, I definitely think that's what's kept me so engaged and involved was, and that's probably what's networked me through a lot more people, is doing the work for the magazine.
Yeah.
Because not only was I talking to everybody, but people wanted to talk to me.
I think that's important.
That sounds kind of shitty
to
say, but because you work for the magazine, because everybody wants a picture of their truck in the magazine.
Right.
So.
But I also think it's important too, like how you're saying you're out talking to people, you're out doing these things, but that also coincides with building a truck too.
Yeah.
So when you're building the truck, it's like if you're not building a vehicle, if you're not doing that thing, and you're just doing this thing, there's something missing.
Yeah, you got to have the connection. And I don't consider myself a photographer. Number one, like I had some awesome features that I thought looked really good, and I'm sure there's people out there who are like, "Oh, that was wrong. This was wrong." You know?
Well, yeah.
I was an enthusiast with a camera, and I could make
If
stuff
Lance
work.
was running your stuff,
Yeah,
then it was good.
Yeah,
because Lance would tell you if it wasn't.
100%.
Yeah,
you know, and all the changeover through mini trucking, like I mean, through the years, like, and everybody still used my stuff, and you know, and I was proud to see that in there. It was always cool.
Some editors they'll run anything.
Yeah,
but then there's some editors, Lance being one.
Yeah,
he'll tell you, hey, this is not good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Lance was awesome. I love that guy.
Yeah,
but that was another thing with being on the East Coast. Like I was the conduit, I would say, I was the connection to the magazine. Mm-hmm. You know, at least for mini trucking, like because I covered all the shows, I was at everything.
Yeah,
you know, so everybody knew me. So I was the way that these guys got featured and got show coverage, and people were excited. I got guys, I took pictures of their kids were in the magazine, and you know, they're like, "Oh my God, it was so cool!" Whether they were in graffiti or in something else, you know, what I mean, that was just a really cool moment.
Yep.
Hell, I got pictures that people have taken with my kids in the magazine, and I'm just like, it's just neat to look back because it's memories.
Yeah.
You know,
well, that's the same. That special thing of just having, like, when you ran your first show and you saw your name in the magazine for the first time. You know, I always tell people that when I went to Rezo for the first time, there was a picture of my truck behind another truck, and I could see the dent in the quarter panel. Yeah. Just the dent. Yep. And I was like, oh, that's my truck. And I bought 5 issues of that magazine. Uh-huh. So to start that process of taking photos and then seeing your name in there, seeing your name in the byline, and then people coming up to you, and then you making those special moments that were special to you, special to them.
Mm-hmm. It was always cool just in the, you know, contributing editor, seeing, you know, Phil in there. I was just like, man, it was something I enjoyed. Yep. You know, it was never about money or anything like that because I didn't care. I just enjoyed it. And, you know, I missed so many club dinners and just, you know, going out cruising because, nah, dude, I'm got to shoot features. And people were so grateful, you know, like it was always rewarding for me. Like I felt like I was getting something in the magazine because of, oh my God, dude, this was a dream come true. Thank you so much. Yeah. Like, you know, you recognize the work that I put in and stuff like that. And I said, dude, people appreciate it. And I says, you know, this is why the magazine's here, to show off what you did. And it's awesome. So I was always excited to, you know, I would say be the conduit to make that connection for people to get to that.
It is always more exciting for me to like make someone's day or try to help them in that aspect than anything else about it.
Yeah. Now here I am on a podcast talking about it. It's just odd to me. You know
well,
what I mean? Like,
but you know,
who am
I think
I?
the common theme throughout it is, and why you are, it's your enthusiasm. Yeah. Like your enthusiasm spills over. Even this conversation that we're having now, your enthusiasm is spilling over into everything, and that's why people get excited about it too, because you're like hyping them up about it, because you're genuinely excited about it, and that's how we all get. Like we come to this show and we cruise up and down, and you genuinely get excited about doing this thing.
Well, and you also realize, like what you just said, it's more important for the person that you're doing it for than you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, photographers or whatever, it's more important to them than what they're shooting. Yeah. And when you know what I mean? Like you're there to make what they did look as best as possible.
Right.
And not rush through it. Yeah. And not just try to do it for money. You know what I mean? Just try to shoot as many features as you can over the weekend just to get a paycheck. It's like, no, you're here to make this person's hard work pay off.
Highlight
for
it.
them. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's about them, and that shows right through, you know.
What have you been what do you do for work? Like what's been your
So I work for Amtrak.
Okay.
So the nation's railroad. A lot of people are like, "What's Amtrak?" I'm like, "It's the railroad." You know,
we have Amtrak. So I know exactly what it is.
Yeah. So California and the East Coast is the. I mean, we have trains that run all over Amtrak, but I've been there for 21 years.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
So it's really cool.
Do you have a passion for that too, or is that just a job?
I've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. So I started out working on the equipment, and you know, just ultimately a train mechanic, just fixing. I used to do wreck work and fix all the wreck trains and stuff like that, which people are like, oh my God, wreck. And most of it happens in the yard, and not that I want to get into Amtrak stuff, but something not.
I'm actually kind of curious.
Not spotted correctly, and they'll bump the car, so the whole corner post will be racked in. So you got to fix that stuff. So that was a lot of fun. It was cool to do. But now I'm a manager, so I'm not so much working with the tools anymore. But I like my job. Amtrak's a great company to work for.
Cool. Are you into train? Does that make you be into trains at all, or?
I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a train buff. I think it's cool. I think they're pretty neat. Like I've, ridden the trains head end going 150 miles an hour, which is pretty neat it's laughable compared to Japan and Germany and stuff like that.
Like 200 mile an hour.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, I'll get off the train subject in a second.
I actually, it's interesting to me because I am an advocate for more. Like people bash California's high-speed rail that they're trying to do, and I'm like, no, you don't understand how important that is.
Yeah, dude,
that's so important to the economy. Yep. And so important to people that live in these areas that can't get good-paying jobs that can just commute.
Railroad's a great job.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, just the people that would take the train, like if they live in the Central Valley of California, they could get a high-paying job in L.A. or this other place and commute. Yep. And then they can also work while they're commuting.
Yeah. You can live in cheaper areas.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's an interesting topic, locally, politically, and all that stuff.
It's a lot of politics.
Yeah, a lot of politics and a lot of.
I'm not going to touch too much on.
Not too much.
That's what we won't touch on.
That's what we won't touch on. Yeah, but there's like a lot of lobbying from different industries to not make that happen.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of propaganda that gets spread about it too. Yeah. So,
but the infrastructure is not there, and so like our high speed for the East Coast is the East Coast is so congested. Like you figure that's where the country started. Yeah. And like all the major cities from DC to Boston,
and the roads weren't planned right. They were just like, we'll put one here. Oh wait, now we need another here. Whereas
isn't Boston like really bad for that?
Yeah. Well, but new cities.
Boston's a cool city though.
Like Phoenix.
I've never been. I want to be. I want to go.
I was supposed to go there with Alex Anderson.
Oh really?
When I seen it last, not to derail that, but last I seen him was at Carlisle All Truck Nationals. He was out working in New York, and he died later that year. But we were talking because he was like, "Oh, dude, I've been up to New York." He says, I want to go check out Boston. I said, dude, let me know. We'll jump on the train and go up to Boston.
That's cool.
I'll go up there with you. We'll cruise around and check things out. Yeah. So
not Boston sports, but anyway.
What I was saying,
I'm not a sports guy.
What I was saying is new cities like Phoenix, for example, the roads are new, so they can plan out the freeways. So you have a center of the city with usually a cross in the freeways, and then you have the loops. But they didn't do that like in Boston, New York, LA. It was just like, we'll just new freeway.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to go over here, so we'll do this and do this.
So to get true dedicated, you would have to get true dedicated rail in the real estate to run straight runs to make it run to 250, 300 miles an hour, which some of these other countries are going. Yeah. You could definitely do it out in the Midwest, but there's just not the people.
There's not the people there.
You got the real estate.
Yeah. You can do it in California to get north and south because you have the real estate in the inland, but. Interesting. Anyways, that's an interesting topic to me. Yeah. So.
No, I just what's your day job? What's your normal gig?
So just eyeing up retirement.
What finances the mini trucks?
10 more years, I get to retire, man. And,
that's cool.
So I'm excited about that.
What are you going to do when you guys retire?
Build more mini trucks.
Go to mini truck shows. Don't think I'm stopping this. Like I still love it. Like
that's cool.
32 years later, I'm still. I love it just as much.
And that's really cool for like people who are listening who are like maybe feel like they're running out of time or something, or like, you're not. Just keep on doing what you like to do. And if what you like to do is build mini trucks and go to mini truck shows, just keep doing it.
Well, I say, because like I'm going to be 50 this year, the big 50, which is crazy to me, because like I'm going to be 50 years old. I'm still going to punk rock shows. I'm still riding a skateboard, still snowboarding, still going to mini truck shows. Like I'm still doing all the same things that I've been doing for the past.
And isn't that the goal?
Yeah. Like, but I think my parents' generation, like my dad wasn't doing this stuff when he was, not that he skateboarded or anything like that. They grew up in a different generation, but you look around like people that are our age, and I know you're younger and you're a couple years behind me too, but that are our age, they're still doing a lot of the same things that we were doing. I think, still love it just as much.
And I think that the younger generation, the new generation coming up, are finding a way to do that too. Yeah. And all this stuff in the older generation kind of talks down on them sometimes.
Yeah, but it's people love what they love. Let them enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Life. You don't know what your timeline is. You never know what's going to happen, and that could change in a day.
Yeah.
And so enjoy it. Do the things you love, and don't skip out. Like, you have to do life. You got to be responsible. You got to work. You got to pay your bills. You know what I mean?
But you also, in a blink of an eye, it's gone.
100%.
You know,
100%.
and so if you're not enjoying that, if you're waiting to enjoy it, or however you structure it, like you can just lose out on it. So
Well, look at the names that we've all lost. I mean, we could all name a bunch of names. You know, what I mean, Courtney's one of the biggest ones I think of.
They're great
that everybody knows, but
they're great
are all
examples of
way too soon.
Courtney, Ernie, Alex. These guys lived and did everything they loved while doing. Like Ernie had, married 2 kids, all that stuff, but all throughout that whole thing, he was figuring out how to still do things that he loved.
Yeah, 100%. And and those people they left their mark, and a lot of people have, and I think it's important to, leave your mark, and not. It's not about popularity or anything like that.
It's just
but
about
just
being good.
Be a good person.
Yeah.
Treat people good, and do things that interest you, and see what you can, like do your own show. If it's mini trucks that you're into, do your own show. If it's whatever you're into, like do things to support that, and
do them because you want to do them.
Yeah,
not because either you think you have to do them or because you want to be popular.
Yeah,
I think that's hard in this scene.
Popularity can be short lived, man. It's there are people
real quick.
It's
real
like
quick.
Dude, just be a good person.
Yeah.
Don't get up on a pedestal. Don't some of these guys, all of a sudden, they got the new hottest truck, and or the egos. I don't like egos. I have a problem with egos.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't care who you are, what you've done. You put on your shoes the same way. You get up like. Come down off your soapbox, dude, because like
especially in a scene where we're building tiny little trucks.
Yeah. Like, which we've said before, they're kind of interesting because they're not. It's not like we're doing something super like tough guy
or competitive. Like we're going 300 miles an hour down a drag.
Yeah,
we're doing these we're life risking things.
Yeah, we're just building.
Building little trucks.
Stay humble. No matter what you build or what your successes you have, celebrate your successes. Like
and celebrate other successes.
100%.
We've sort of implemented that into like this whole thing that we're doing. Like we want to build each other up. We want to build other people up, and we want to be positive. Like when people skate through the booth, and you don't know who you're talking to, you don't know what they're going through. So if you're just like kind, it's just, and it seems like such a basic. Just be kind.
It's not hard to be a good person.
It's not. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't treat people like crap.
Yeah.
You don't dog the guy out because he doesn't have big billet wheels. So what? You know what I mean? It's his truck. Like maybe he doesn't have the money. You don't know what he's going through. Yeah. Like he's here at the show. He's supporting the show. He's supporting the vendors. He's contributing to what we all love. And he might be an awesome person. Like just because his truck isn't the latest, greatest, build that guy up, man. Talk to him about his truck. Inspire. Like don't blow him off. And I did have some guys when I was out in California. Like I walked up and I was like, "Oh man, nice. How'd you do this?" Just did it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like some guys are really arrogant, and I was like. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty crappy, and you have a crappy truck, man. Like, there's no reason to be like that. And I'm not dogging, like the people on the West Coast be like, that guy sucks, man.
Yeah, no,
I'm not dog, but like some of the
people. Yeah, that's probably me.
Some of the guys.
Maybe they changed. That was a long time ago.
And I don't even remember what truck it was, but
come on, let's remember. Let's
no, I wouldn't be that guy. I'm not a guy for calling people out, especially on a public forum like this.
I've had a bit of the opposite happen sometimes. Yeah, is like when people come up to the booth and you're talking to them, and you're chopping it up. And maybe like you peg them the wrong way or something. Yeah. Maybe that's not the right way to say that. maybe you think that. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is
that sounds dirty.
You're chopping
pegging
it up.
people at the booth, dude. It's weird, man.
What I'm saying is you're chopping it up with somebody, and they're like talking about their truck or whatever, and you may look at them and think they present themselves a certain way, and then you go like, "Well, which one's your truck?" And they point to the baddest truck sitting over there, and you're like, "Oh." So, like, that's the other side of it, too. It's like, you never know who you're talking to.
Exactly. So, treat everybody good.
Yeah, just treat everybody cool.
Be
kind. Be kind.
If you got the latest and greatest, I'm here to tell you, like, somebody next year is going to have the latest and greatest. And you will be a memory.
Well, if you're always worried about being the latest and greatest, and you're
don't need
worried
to be on top.
about, like, what people think of you, or if I have to get these things or do these things.
Or have the most Instagram followers, or the most.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like... That's going to be short-lived.
Yeah.
That's and here you are. You've done this for so long, and you have a bad truck. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Thank you.
Just have that.
I like it. It's not the greatest truck. Some people are like, "Oh, it's the greatest Ranger ever." No, it's not.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Well,
pretty-
let's
pretty high there.
talk about why we like it.
Yeah, I
mean,
like it.
obviously it's sick, and
Yeah.
it's just the perfect color.
Mm-hmm.
I love the color.
Square body Rangers are, to me, I mean, I love Toyota Tacomas. Don't get me wrong, but like a square body Ranger, they're amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They tuck a ton of wheel.
Yeah.
Those and old Toyotas tuck the most wheel.
Yes.
So
And just a square truck because
Yep.
everything's so round. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But like, so your truck in particular, since you've had it for so long, like,
yeah.
and do you ever, like you said, you don't get sick of it or tired of it or whatever? It's still like fun to you. But what's your plans with your truck?
So I would love to redo the truck, just to fix up all the stuff I've messed up. It's got a lot of stuff that is screwed up from riding low. I mean, everybody sees the videos of me skating around, and I drive it around town like that all the time. Maybe
That's
up
cool.
about a half an inch more, but I really drive
awesome.
down the highway like that. And
That's so
everybody's
cool.
just, so that's really how I drive the truck. So it's got its bout of wounds and stuff, and it still looks good. But there's, if you look hard enough, you'll find stuff. And there's just stuff that I because it's such an old build,
Yeah.
I would have liked to have done different. I mean, it's not bad. Like I'll show anybody pictures of it.
But I mean,
Underneath,
just
whatever.
as
It's not
anything,
hacked up or anything like that. But
everything, people figure out a better way to do
Yeah.
this, or they make a better part now, or or whatever
Yep.
it is. Like they dial certain things in.
Yeah.
And but I mean, like drastic changes to it. Is there any like plans for that?
if I redid the truck, I probably would redo it the same exact way,
Yeah.
but just
Just
finish things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
inner tubs and inner fenders. Just not. I got tubs underneath the hood, but right at
into
the bottom of
the
the fender, right
firewall.
behind the wheel. Just to finish that off. Like I would like to have that. I would like to do an engine swap and clean up the engine bay. The engine bay is just the engine
What
blade.
motor is in it?
It's got the stock 2.3. My underneath the hood is pretty stock. It's black. I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah.
But it's not like you see everybody. And I'm not a hood popping guy.
Yeah.
For taking pictures all the years,
Yeah, see,
I like
you're a
everybody
photographer.
opens
He's
everything
a
up.
photographer.
I like everything closed up, and
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
ask people, "Hey, would you mind closing your door,
Yes.
closing your hood?" Because I want to
Yeah.
see
all the time.
I think it looks so much better
Yeah.
than a transformer that's all flipped open. I appreciate you showing off everything, but to get your picture
We
in
just
the
had
magazine,
this conversation in a recent podcast, probably the Forbidden Show.
yeah,
And we're just like, and I actually told everyone this one year at the Forbidden Show at 3:00, everyone shut your trucks up.
Yeah.
So that way the photographers and the video guys can
100%.
go around.
Yep.
And they can
Yeah.
get the overalls of the
Yeah.
vehicle.
12 o'clock's perfect for that to be open because
Yeah.
photos suck at that time.
Yeah.
There's all the
Yeah.
shadows on the
Yeah.
mirror
So
from the
and
mirrors.
then it
and
gives
stuff.
everyone time to go around and look in the motor. But
Yeah.
3:00, shut everything down.
Yeah, I like that, and that's not why I didn't finish my engine bay. You know what I mean? Because it was on a budget, and fortunately, I was sponsored by PPG for the paint. Thank you, Fred Green, for that. For the original paint when it was two-toned, and he heard I was painting it again because I had actually scrubbed the bed sides and blistered the paint. So I was repainting the truck, and I was going to redo it the same and just change it up a little bit. And he was like, "Look, I'll send you the book." So I'm very fortunate with the connecting. And Fred actually used to be in a club back in the day. He's a fantastic guy, but he's a PPG rep. So I was very fortunate to be taken care of at PPG. With my paint.
So if you redid it, it would stay orange.
I wanted the same.
Same.
So they gave me the color book and says, "Here, just tell me what you want." You know what I mean? And I was just like, "Okay." And it took me months to pick the colors.
Really?
And I painted the truck. It was actually green, two-tone green and green. And then I was just like, "Yeah." The painter was like, "Doesn't look good." So I said, "Well, let's change it two-tone to green and charcoal." And it looked good. The paint was flawless. It looked fantastic. And I went down to the house. Big shout out to Pete, Big Dog Customs in Maryland. But I went down to the house and he was spraying and I was in the booth and he's like, "How's it look?" I said, "Dude, it looks awesome." He said, "You don't look excited." And I'll have to show you pictures of it when it was green. But because it went from two-tone orange and silver to green and green, but then it was just a couple spray outs on the panels. And then he just did green and gray. It was just the cab was painted. The bed wasn't done. But he was like, "What do you think?" I said, "It looks great." He's like, "You don't seem excited." And I said, "It just doesn't pop like the orange."
Yeah.
Like I kind of feel like we've taken a step back. I said, "But it's awesome, dude. Like looks phenomenal. Like it's really
But you didn't
amazing."
get
Then
I didn't have the excitement. And he was like, "Well, let's pull it out and see what it looks like in the sun." And his wife comes out, like we're looking. I was like, "Dude, it looks awesome. Let's paint the bed." Like I kind of, sketched out like graphics. You know, I just kind of changing it up a little bit, but it was still two-toned, and kind of sketched it out the way I wanted to do it. And I was like, yeah, just paint the bed. It'll be great. And his wife walked out, and he was like, what do you think? I think you should have never touched it. And I was just like,
you know, and that's really good on that dude.
Yeah.
Because he could have just like, yeah, man, whatever. Shh. You know what I mean?
Well, so, you know, and the bottom line is Pete was like, he said, if you're not happy, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Like, I mean, that wasn't that day. Like, so he put it back in the shop, and I left. And he's like 2.5, 3 hours from me. So I came home, and the next day, or maybe a couple days later, he sent me a video. He ground the truck down to bare metal. He's like, if you're not happy, I'm not happy. Yeah. Get the orange.
That's cool.
We're painting
that
solid
so
orange.
Cool, man.
And I couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh my God. So thankful, because if it wasn't for Eric Folber from Negative Camber, Maryland, well, he's actually Pennsylvania, but everybody thinks he's from Maryland. But Eric Folber and Pete Ryberg, my truck would have never been done the first time, and it wouldn't have got done the second time the way it was.
It's such an important thing that you just talked about, though, is like making sure you're happy with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to live with it.
Well, so he did all that work, and then he ground the truck down to bare metal, you know, because it had you know, the original paint job, and then they, you know, scuffed it and shot the other paint job, and it's just too thick. You know, it's just like took it down to bare metal. I was like, holy fuck, dude! Like, excuse me, holy crap, dude! Like, I can't believe you did that. And he's like, just go get the orange. So I paid for the orange. Not cheap. You know, paint is definitely not cheap, but
yeah.
I couldn't be happier. The color, like when I walk out my garage and see that thing sitting on the lift or on the ground or whatever, I'm so excited. I love it.
That's a cool feeling.
And like, I love it. I love when I love it. I love everybody. PPG Orange Glow, if anybody's wondering the color, but it's amazing color. It's my favorite color in their color line. Mm-hmm. And you know, people ask me, oh, are you going to change it? I want to do it exactly the same, but I want to blow the whole truck apart. Powder coat the frame, because it, like, originally it's just painted black, like Pour 15. Mm-hmm. You know, I powder coated my control arms and stuff like recently, but like, it's just an older build. You know what I mean? What kind of front
suspension's in it?
It's got a Toyota front clip.
Okay.
So out of a '84 Toyota.
And Toyota rear end too. So
Ford Ranger.
Oh.
Ranger. So.
Oh, Ford Rangers are 504. So yeah, that's the same. It's the same pattern. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll shoot you some pictures of the. You know, I'll take some pictures or whatever underneath, but I would just like to finish it, but then again, I drive that truck and enjoy it. I'll drive it anywhere, and like, I do trailer it down here, driving through the mountains. And I mean, it's typically I bring my family with me. Like, this is a vacation for us. Yeah. Just my wife this year, but still, you know, it's a long way. No spare. No, you know, the bed's all sheet metaled in. Mm-hmm. But I don't have any tools. I don't have any place to put luggage. Yeah. So it's like I'm either having her follow me in a car, and it's just like, I don't have to worry if I put it in a trailer. But
yeah, exactly.
Like, I've driven it to Drop-N-Ware, which is, you know, 7.5 hours from my house. And I've driven it down there. That's you know, wild. So like, the truck is very roadworthy. I'll drive it anywhere. But sometimes, if, you know, especially coming down for the week, where am I going to put my luggage? Mm-hmm. You know, and sometimes it's nice to just have peace of mind. And I don't have a spare tire. Yeah. You know, but,
so you said you were working on something else possibly?
Well, so, and if anybody can, I would love to get a crew cab Isuzu pickup out of Mexico.
Oh, okay.
So, I thought I had a connection. The guy was talking to me, had family down there, and he's like, yeah, dude, like, I brought back a bunch of trucks from there, and I'm like, holy shit, dude, this is amazing. Like, yeah, let me know, because I'm going to put a regular bed on it and lay it out with 20-inch billets. And
like a mid-90s or like the the other one?
No, like mid-90s.
Like mid-90s, okay.
You know, so we're up there. I think it goes up to like 2005. It's they're Chevy loves at Mexico. Okay. But like, so I've had some connections that haven't panned out, but I want to, because I think there's one other crew cab Isuzu. Like, my family enjoys coming to shows with me sometimes, and even if not, like, even if my friends want to ride with me,
that's cool.
You don't have a lot of room in a standard cab Ranger, so I love crew cab minis, and there's no space cab or not. So I was going to build space cab for years. I wanted to build a space cab, which I may still pick one up because I can't seem to figure out this crew cab deal.
But it's cool when you're driving down the strip in Maggie Valley, and like, someone yells, "Hey!" and you stop, and they can just open the door and it just pile in.
Yeah. So is the body style you're talking about like the S10 body style, or like the no, like a mid-90s or early 90s Isuzu pickup, like a space cab.
like a space cab, but just a crew cab.
Okay.
I'll show you pictures.
Yeah, I'm confused right now.
Or a Holden. And
I know what you're talking about because they did make quad cab S10s.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So I'm thinking of that body style, but
Remind me to
it's
show
not.
you
It's the
pictures.
body style before
It's
that.
the body style before that.
Yeah.
That's the space cab body
Yeah,
style, just
yeah.
a four-door.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they just made them
I'm all just saying.
just like a lot of things in Mexico. They made them through.
That's
Yeah.
also confusing when it comes to
So-
Mexican like cars.
Yep.
Because like a Volkswagen Beetle, they took all the way up to like 2000 or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that.
So, and I'm not an Isuzu specialist. I don't know all the things, but
Mm-hmm.
like, in Australia or New Zealand, it would be a Holden Rodeo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
and the front end's totally different. So the front end's funky on the Mexico truck, but it's left-hand drive. I'm not a mailman. I don't like right-hand drive. Like I don't
Yeah.
want to drive.
I'm an American.
It's just
Damn it! Shit far.
the right hand drive stuff's an odd modification.
Yeah,
in my
it's just
opinion.
not for me. I mean, do you? Like, if that makes you, I just don't. It just seems inconvenient to me. Like if you're going to go through a
Most
drive-through,
of those
or
mods,
going
those,
to the bank.
those weird mods that people do when they're like first starting the build, it's
Yeah.
usually right hand drive and suicide door.
Yeah.
And then after the build, they go, "I'm never doing that
Yeah.
again."
Yep.
I've talked to a couple people who've done like conversions like that, and I was talking to one person particularly, and they're like, "Man, I went through all of this work to do this, to buy all the right pieces to do it," and people go, "Oh, I didn't even notice it was right-hand drive."
Yeah. You know what I like to see people do? There's a lot of subtle mods that people do to their trucks that, unless you are a Ranger guy or an S10 guy or stuff, or a Toyota guy, you're not going to notice.
Yep.
Like, I think of Tony's Ranger, Tony Audia from Negative Camber, West Virginia. Complete was a blue Ranger. It's not doored, but it's almost doored. Amazing. It had Nietzsche spikes on it. One of my favorite trucks of all time. But like he radiused all the bed corners, he radiused all his door corners.
Those are cool mods.
Yeah.
Very cool
Those
mods,
are
and
cool
unless you're a
mods.
Ranger guy, you're not noticing that. But I
Right.
see people doing that with all kinds of stuff, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
And I like when people point that stuff out because I'm like, oh man, I would have never noticed
Yeah.
it. Because,
Notice it, yeah.
it's just cool to see.
It's like people who like chop cars and stuff, but they only chop them like an inch.
Yeah, very
or
subtle.
a little bit.
Very subtle.
Like
Yeah.
Oliver's truck is a really good example. It doesn't
One of my
look
favorites.
chopped, but but when you stare at it, like it has clean
That's
lines.
when I look at my Tacoma and I look at the side and I go, that roof needs to be chopped 1 inch.
That's
Tacomas have the best lines
Yeah.
of any truck ever built. They have the best body lines out there, like amazing.
Yeah.
And Oliver's truck, I mean, just one of my all-time favorite trucks. And Oliver, just an amazing person.
Now,
I
how
love
was
talking to
it
him.
when you guys were cruising down the strip last year?
That dude, it was like an achievement unlocked. For real. Like I was just like, oh my God, it's the Stranger and Oliver. And
Yeah.
I talked to Oliver. Oliver's great people. When I first met him, he was out to Magnetic Mini Bash up in Connecticut. And it was the first time, I want to say it was the first time I met him in person. I knew of him and I'd seen him around, but like, dude, we hung out in the parking lot till like 5 a.m. just talking, you know, because like Oliver's just a great dude, like really great person. I absolutely love his truck. I was so excited to see him here last year. And matter of fact, when I was talking about coming for Forbidden Fantasy recently, he was like, dude, come out, stay with me, fly into Phoenix, you stay with me.
Oh, that'd be cool.
We'll go to the show. So
Yeah.
I just wasn't able to pull it together.
I was going to ask you, like, would you ever plan on bringing your truck out to the West Coast, like to a Forbidden?
So I've taken it to LST. I know that's not the West Coast, but
it's getting there.
It's getting there. But that's the first. I mean, that's a 24-hour drive.
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
I know that's a hop, skip, and a jump compared to you guys coming out here, but and my truck's an older build. Like
I don't
and-
think people would even.
People on that would eat it up.
Yeah,
you know what
dude.
I mean, like,
Yeah,
And it's-
Right,
I mean, it's got
put it
some-
right there, right in the front.
Yep.
Right there.
it's got some damage. You know what I mean? So I'm like, it's not even really like I don't know. All the stuff that I screwed up.
Do it.
Yeah, but I mean, like that would be a freaking haul.
Yeah.
Like I
it is,
I understand.
It would have to be one of those where you're just like, okay, this is the big one we're doing this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like we're going out. It's because it's going to take you 3 days to get out there
Yeah.
driving, and so there you're already 6 days into this trip, and you're not even actually there. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it should be cool though.
I mean, it was always something. Cliff Brown from Cali Style in Maryland had. As a matter of fact, the first feature I shot, Nissan Hardbody, he always talked about building a truck and driving to the West Coast. Which Downtime Matt from Low Rollers, who's building, he had that blue GMC Canyon. It was at your show, crew cab, blue with the blue graphics in Freaks of Nature.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Now, so that was Downtime Matt Hodgson.
okay.
He had built that truck and sold it. And so it's out there, which is really cool to be seeing it shown out there. But he's building a old 4Runner right now. We want to see like 84, 85 body
First
style.
gen.
First gen 4Runner. So it's the chassis is going to be here this weekend, which is really cool. I'm excited
cool.
But his plan is to drive that thing to the West Coast and just hit shows all over.
That's
so
cool.
We'll see. Idea. What I mean. Because, first off, you got to think about time off work and money.
Yeah.
So you have 2 weeks to say,
10 years when you retire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just going to drive your Ranger all over America.
Yeah. Hopefully it's a crew cab.
A crew cab Isuzu. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But, that would be the thing. I would want to drive that everywhere. Yeah. Like, I don't want to, and I drive the Ranger most places. I really do.
Yeah.
But I do trailer at some places.
Yeah, because we want to set up you saw this year was mostly mini truck. It's mostly mini truck show, but
dude, the coverage looked amazing.
Yeah,
I was
that's cool.
Pretty envious sitting home. I was just like, oh my god,
that actually makes us feel really good because it means that it all worked out.
Oh, dude, it's amazing. It looks like an epic show. I'm sure it is. It was awesome. When we went.
It's
to
just cool
Paris.
to see the amount of mini trucks.
Yeah. Well, so it's really cool. Like, there's been a huge resurgence in mini trucks coming back out, and maybe it's just because some of the older guys or kids are grown and they're like, man, I really miss mini trucks. And
I think that's
I'm
part
seeing
of
a lot
it.
of guys
and I
coming
also
back.
think that a lot of these dudes, remember we were talking earlier about guys who went off and built hot rods and stuff. I think it's all coming full circle. Like they did the hot rod thing, or they did this, whatever.
They
the off road.
They found out that grass ain't always greener.
I don't like the hot rod scene. Yeah. I don't. I've been to the shows and I don't know. It's just not for me. It's just different.
There's a particular hot rod scene that I like.
Yeah.
I don't really like the hot rod scene in general. I just like cars, so I do like it in general.
I'm a car person.
But there's this small little thing in Southern California, in the Los Angeles area, where it's almost like lowrider dudes and old car dudes came together, and punk rock guys, like punk rock skater, lowrider dudes, all came together and build these cars. I like that. Scene is really cool.
Yeah, it's like just the customs, right?
Yeah, just like a custom scenes. There's clubs called like Sentinels and like Scoundrels back in the day. Like Scoundrels was that club, that type of builds. So I dig that one. But yeah, I just honestly think that a lot of these dudes they started mini trucks, went over to old cars, built them, learned a lot, and now they're like, hey, let's go back and build a mini truck exactly how I really want to build.
Well, so your financial situation is a lot different.
And that's a big thing
as some people refer to as old man money, which I still haven't found old man money.
Where's the old man money?
I don't know how old do I have to get to old man money, but hats off to these guys that are truly going above and beyond with these builds.
But
I respect it. I admire it. Mm-hmm. But some of the stuff, it's just not enjoyable. Some of the stuff that's built to such a high caliber, I'd be scared to drive it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh. Yeah. And another thing, when I paint my truck, because that's the thing with candy paint, odds are you're not matching it. Yeah. So that's why I haven't fixed all the things that I've screwed up, because I got to repaint the whole truck.
Right.
And I don't know. I just want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Every little nick and scratch, it's like, oh.
But, yeah. You see it in the C10 world.
Yeah.
The amount of money and these
crazy.
$200,000-$300,000 that people are putting into it, and you're just like,
that's a different thing though.
Yeah.
To go back. But
that's probably a demeasuring contest. You know what I mean? I have the biggest and baddest, and that just doesn't do it for me. I'm not into
100% that.
The thing that blows me away about that whole scene is, and not talking crap to anybody. Oro, when you're listening, we're not talking about your scene, man.
Dropping.
What I mean is like some of these dudes, these trucks are almost like boats. Like you got some guys, knocking a ball around the golf course, and I'm into boats now, so they go out and buy these expensive boats. And one dude gets an old truck. Hey man, check out this old truck I got. Oh man, okay. And so they get into trucks. And the crazy thing to me is and I think you might be able to relate to this, is we have spent years and years and years building these trucks, figuring out how to body drop them, getting them as low as possible. And these dudes are just calling up these big shops and be like, yeah, give me a 67, 72 C10 on airbags. Well, the chassis, the way they're built now, they're automatically body drop.
I'll take I'll take a number 7 with fries and
so these dudes end up with bag bodied trucks and they have no idea what they have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They don't know that it's body drop.
Yeah. It's just wild to me. It's just super wild.
Not all of them, but some of them.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Like the other car scenes, people are just different. And Downtime Matt, he sold his truck initially, the crew cab, it's GMC Canyon, but he sold that when it was green. And he bought a 57 Fairlane or something. I forget what exactly the car was. It was a nice, cool car, and he was just going to these little cruise-ins and stuff like that. And, you know, he came back because he's like, they're not my people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, dude, this is family. Like, and dude, I got friends all over the country because of these stupid trucks. Like, these are my people. You guys are my people. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, we all have black shirts on. You know what I mean? It's, you know, we have the uniform
We all
on.
got our uniform
You know?
on.
But yeah, I mean, it's just that mini trucks. Like, I just don't have an interest in building anything but the mini trucks. Like,
No, that's cool. I totally respect that and dig it. So the real thing that I want to talk about is punk rock and hardcore music.
Yes.
And actually, I didn't know that about you until like you said, "Oh, hey, check about," because I had talked about in a previous podcast about wearing club shirts and stuff to shows, and then you're like, "Yeah, me too," and you send me a picture of you and Vincent Stigma from Agnostic Front.
Holy crap, dude!
Yeah,
amazing.
That's so cool. So have you been into like hardcore punk music your
Since
whole life?
I was 12 years old.
That's cool.
And I still go to punk and hardcore shows quite a bit.
And that's like
the past few years, because of the political climate and stuff, politics gets a little weird. And not one way or the other. I don't care. I'd rather just be middle of the road guy. But you know, and just you know, it's been a few years, but I did just go see Agnostic Front and Murphy's Law.
That's cool.
In Philly at the First Unitarian Church, which they've done punk and hardcore shows there in the basement for decades now. Like it's a staple of Philly.
That's what I've always like been jealous of the East Coast is like the New York hardcore scene.
Yeah,
and it sounds like you have been in it forever.
I've seen so many bands. I mean, I've seen Agnostic Front countless times.
That's cool.
You know, Cro-Mags. Like, I mean, you think of New York hardcore. I mean, there's so many different bands.
Yeah.
Punk rock and hardcore bands that I've seen since 1987. I have seen Youth of the Day.
Gorilla Biscuits.
Yes. Actually, no, I never got to see Gorilla Biscuits. They play, my buddy Joe McKay, Joe Hardcore, puts on This Is Hardcore in Philadelphia, which is a huge hardcore fest out. And it's a 3-day hardcore fest. It's incredible.
That's
and like,
awesome.
You know, like I've seen so many huge bands there. And just going to Philly in general, but getting to see Youth of Today because it was, I mean, I'm straight edge. I've been straight edge my whole life.
Oh, cool.
You know, it was just a choice like I made when I was like 12, 13 years old. Not for any reason, but I thought it was cool. And Minor Threat and Youth of Today, it spoke to me. You know what I mean? Like, because, you know, being in punk rock, like, especially back then, a lot of people were into drugs and stuff like that. And it's just like, it just wasn't my thing. I've never drank. I've never smoked. I've never done a drug in my life. Like, really. Matter of fact, at Carlisle, All Truck Nats, they tried to pay me $750 one year to drink a beer.
Wow. Really?
Yes. Like, everybody was like, oh, he's got to drink. And they got the ante up to $750, and I wouldn't do it.
Like,
and
no.
I was like,
What's your price?
I don't have a price.
There's no price.
There's no price.
You know what I mean?
He won't break his edge.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, and then it's not like, oh, you know, do you know what I mean? You want to drink, you want to do whatever you want. I don't care. I don't knock anybody for doing it. It was a choice that I made as a teenager, and you know, I was inspired by the music and stuff like that, and it's really just something I've always held on to. So getting to see Youth of Today, you know, I always go down these little rabbit holes.
No,
getting
I'm here for it, man.
I've never been kicked in my head so much. Like. It was awesome. It was awesome. But that was This Is Hardcore. So Joe, I mean, there's a lot of these bands, old bands that I grew up on. Got to see Bad Brains. Like, holy crap!
Man.
Like that was amazing.
That's
you know,
super cool.
You know, talking to some of the people that are like, oh, it's just not the same. I'm like, dude, do you know how old HR is? Like,
Yeah.
You know, like he's really old, and like these guys are still out here playing hardcore music.
That's cool.
They're not going to jump around like they were in 1984 at CBGB's. You know. Like,
did you ever go to CBGB's?
One time.
Yeah.
So I only made it to CBGB's one time for a show. My buddy Joey's band, Kill Quota, was playing there.
That's tough.
So he's like, oh, dude. You know, I was like, dude, I've never been to CBGB's, you know. So I mainly went to shows in Philadelphia and Baltimore. Okay. Philly was always 40 minutes from me. So, and there was a big hardcore scene, punk and hardcore scene there.
Yeah.
So, and still is to this day. So,
well, yeah, that's the birthplace of that type of music.
Yep.
And you're talking about like Bad Brains and Minor Threat, like those are those DC bands. Yeah,
DC bands, and then you hit up New York, and it's just like, oh,
that's what
it's crazy.
I mean, we have our scene out on the West Coast, and of course there's LA bands and stuff like that, but the New York hardcore scene, the East Coast hardcore scene and punk scene has just always been incredible.
Yeah. If you ever want to come out, dude.
Yes.
Yeah. Dude, come out. You can stay with me. We'll go up to Philly.
What's your favorite band?
God, I don't really.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, that's a hard one because, you know, and I go through so much stuff. You know what I mean? I don't really have Agnostic Front's up there. And meeting, like, so I was standing there talking to my buddy Joey and standing with my wife. And
Is your wife also into hardcore?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, dude.
That's
it was
so
funny.
cool.
I would take like people, like a guy from the truck club. We were at a Hatebreed show in Philly.
Nice.
And, you know, she's standing at the edge of the pit and, you know, she's just like got her arm up, you know, keeping herself from getting kicked in the face and stuff like that.
And
My
you're
buddy's
out there
like,
just
yeah, I mean, I'm in.
two-stepping.
Like, that's where I live, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I was pretty close to jumping up on stage and jumping off with Agnostic Front at 50 years old, you know what I mean?
That's so sick.
And I did jump off the stage at Youth of Today a couple years ago, so that was
cool.
sort of fun. But that's usually where I'm at, you know, whether it's the karate dancing or circle pit, whatever. I mean, we're in. I just enjoy it.
We need to see this,
dude.
Yeah.
So you know, that's why I grew up. I grew up going to punk shows. I grew up in the pits, just getting down, and then I'll spend a lot of years not doing it. And then a few years ago, we went to a Voodoo Glow Skulls show.
Yeah.
And I don't get in the pit, and I was just there, and then just something came over
Yeah,
me.
dude. I mean,
I was like, because like they started playing and the music started pumping, and we were kind of close to the front, the pit's going, and you're kind of getting pushed on, and I just like something got over me. I ended up I'm shirtless. I have no hat on, shirtless in this pit, running around.
That's awesome.
That's probably why I hurt my back that year too.
I've seen Voodoo Glow Skulls in Philly a couple times.
Dude, yeah.
So, matter of fact, I gave John Matta. I mailed him one of my Voodoo Glow Skulls records.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Heck yeah.
But
yeah, man. I just like me. That's, you know, as passionate as you are about like music and trucks. That's how I am. My life revolves around those two things. You know.
Yeah, you look at my iPod or you know what I mean, anything that's on my Pandora. You know, I know people don't use iPods no more or Pandora.
Yeah.
You know, but that's my thing. It's all punk and hardcore. You know what I mean?
cool.
You get some, you know, some other stuff on there, but for the most part, that's where I live. But so anyway, back to Vinny Stigma.
Yeah, yeah.
So
tell me
we're
about
standing there talking to my buddy Joey, and I'm like, "Holy shit, it's Vinny Stigma!" And I was like, "Oh my god, dude, can I shake your hand?" Dude, he gave me a hug. It was like super cool dude, down to earth, like loves the people.
Yeah, all the like documentaries I've seen about that guy, he seems like that.
He's such a cool guy. And I just actually listened to his audiobook, which he narrates, which is a fascinating book because, like, you know, he grew up, you know, a couple blocks from CBGB's. And not that I'm a historian and know all the things, but I did just listen to the book. And I was fascinated, just the mobsters and Murder Incorporated across the street. And all these guys that he would see, you know, and he talk about, like, you know, because if you ever been to CBGB's, the bathroom in there was disgusting. So
Well,
people would go to his
pictures.
people would go to his house. Like he would, you know, his friends would go to his house 2 blocks away.
And he
talks
lived in the
about
same
that
house
in the book.
his
Still
entire
lives in the
life.
same apartment.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Still the same
So
apartment.
this guy we're talking about is a 70-year-old punk rock guy, and he's
still
mohawk.
just-
He just recently got the side of his head tattooed.
Yeah.
Just recently.
Yeah, he's got Madball tattooed on, you know.
Yeah.
You know, Freddie from Madball. He's got the Madball
That's
tattooed
so
on the side of
cool.
the head. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But it's just neat, man, and like still full of energy and just awesome. Like still like he jumped off the stage and you know they ran a circle pit around him. You know what I mean? He's out there playing, and
so cool.
a guy Mike from Crown of Thorns was out there with him, just kind of watching out for him.
Yeah.
But he broke his guitar. Like I mean, he's in it. Like
Yeah.
you know, it's 16. He's 69. 69 years old.
Yeah.
But I was just like, this is amazing.
That's so cool.
But same thing with the Meatmen, Tesco V. I don't know if you heard of the Meatmen,
Yeah.
but you know, old punk rock band from way back. Seeing them in Baltimore, and he's got to be mid 60s to late
all
60s.
of these bands
Are rocking it.
Yeah,
Dude. It's so
it's
cool. You look at
crazy.
Fears playing.
Yeah.
Like these guys are old. These guys were the pioneers of punk rock that
Yeah.
were.
And they're still up there with a lot of energy too. Because I was saying, I was
Yeah.
watching the Circle Jerks last week.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
like-
dude. That guy.
He's like, 69 years old, and I'm like, I'm 48.
Yeah.
and I'm getting tired
Yep.
of watching this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just played Philly. I was trying to go to that show, but I wasn't able to make
Yeah.
it. But I wanted
I mean,
to
look
go.
at the Misfits. The Misfits are still
Oh,
out there doing
dude,
it.
yep.
They were just at Coachella.
And I wanted, yeah, it was just so crazy to me.
Yeah.
I wanted this. I've seen the Misfits because they broke up. But when I seen them, it was Michael Graves singing,
Yeah.
which was still cool, and it was
I
still the
don't
Misfits. But I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
But it was cool to see them, and it was such a great stage presence. But when they toured, last year or 2 years ago. With Glenn Danzig singing, and I've seen Glenn Danzig play. You know what I mean? So
As
like,
Danzig?
as Danzig.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, so but like I was just like, man, tickets are like $200, and I'm not paying $200 for punk rock. That's not punk rock.
I did.
So I couldn't do it.
I saw them
just-
in 19 at the Forum in LA.
Yeah.
And it was the original Misfits, and
Yeah.
it was worth it. It was super cool.
Like she yells at me all the time because like as odd as it may seem, Devo is playing Philly, and like I was like, oh my god, I want to go see Devo, and like tickets are like $90. I'm like, I'm not spending $90 to see Devo.
I'm the same place as you because
Yeah.
you're used to going to a $5.
Yeah, I want to go to a
punk rock show.
$20 punk
Yeah.
rock. The old shows were $5
Yeah.
now, and a can of food.
Buying tickets
Yeah.
nowadays is just you go like this.
Yep.
Bye.
Yeah. So I won't do it.
That's stupid. But
like she goes, you should go to different, it goes to like country shows and stuff like that.
These guys are kind of getting up there. I'm going to see the Aquabats pretty soon.
Yeah.
Just because
they're playing Philly.
It's fun,
Who are they playing Philly? I forget who they're playing with. But H2O's coming next month to Baltimore.
Love H2O, yeah.
They're playing with the Bouncing Souls, another New Jersey band. But H2O is so good.
Yeah.
So good. So I can't wait to go check that out next month. They're going to Baltimore. I'd prefer to go to Philly because I know more folks in Philly than Baltimore. Baltimore's a little shady. I feel more comfortable in Philly than I do Baltimore. But,
really?
Yeah.
Just the city?
The city's a little different.
I really want to explore those East Coast cities.
Dude, if you want to come out, man, like seriously, like
and that's the thing is like we've talked about it for a while. Like the only reason we don't make it out there is because we do this.
There's a show in New Hampshire. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah. Jeff Gaudette, I think puts it on.
He has hit me up and he's like, what will it take to get you guys out there?
And he's just starting out. He's asked me to come up, and I can't seem to swing it, which I think it's great. I just haven't been able to make it up. I think this is his third year doing the show. He's trying to grow it, which is it's great, especially for such an early show. Yeah. And he's got a big mix, he's got a big mix of shows. I mean, hell, at our peak, our show was 600 entries, which was a big show.
It's a big show.
It was a big show, especially for there, other than like Carlisle, but it was 80% mini trucks, like really was it was crazy. But like we used to park everybody in classes, and everybody was separated. Cars were over here and trucks were over here. Cars guys were like, we want to park over there. Like, nope, cars are over here. And
really?
It's just we just separated them, and
honestly, when you're
in the classes, but like we had car classes
physically.
Because when you pulled in, there was field on the right and there was field on the left. And it was just like, this is the car side.
Club trip or
no, everybody was cool. But then, people would move around. They're like, hey, we're trying to judge. And then we decided, you know what? We're doing away with classes, which everybody was, not everybody. Some people were happy about, some people were mad about because they liked the separation. We started doing top 75.
Yeah.
That's how everybody,
which is natural. We did the same thing.
It's easier.
It is easier. And again, it goes back to that thing where sometimes you have to do things that make it easier on the staff.
Baby
Frank's
bladder
out of here. He quit.
You got to
you got to do things that are easier on the staff in order to make the show continue.
Yeah. And as we talked about earlier, it's tough on the staff too.
It's also tough because we did classes. You had mini truck, stock, mild, wild.
Yeah, that's what we did. We did mild, wild, and radical,
and then we did like compact car. But like now, a mini truck, the mini trucks are big. Yeah. The compact cars are big.
Yeah.
So what's a compact car? What's a full size car?
Yeah.
And it just
we would do luxury car,
And then whoever's judging that class has to judge that entire class.
Yeah.
Because you can't split them up.
Yeah, because
they judge differently.
They judge on a different scale.
Yep. So we learned that the very first year we had classes that were like, oh yeah, that didn't work.
The people that always complained at our show were the car guys.
Oh really?
Always. Yeah. Always. Like many truckers were like, dude, thanks for a great time. And like and it's my people.
Yeah.
Nothing against the car guys because a lot of them were great people, great enthusiasts, come support the show. I would never knock them at all.
Yeah.
But there was always like, oh, I had more stickers on my car than that. And this is back when the tuner thing, everybody was doing stickers. Yeah. But like let me just finish my thought because I go off in another rabbit hole. But so I started ordering like extra trophies. I'm like, I'm just going to order a couple more first place and second, third. And these guys, when we finish up awards and everybody's leaving, I would just sit there and entertain these questions. I'm like, this guy had this and this guy had that and I had this. And look, man, like we're doing the best we can. And what car did you have? And maybe I knew it, maybe I didn't. But if I knew it, I'd be like, and you were parked next to that? And he's like, yeah. And I says, did you notice he had this, this, and this? And he's like, well, no. And I said, well, I did, or the guy judging did. And I says, but if it's about the trophy, I said, dude, I have them right here. I said, you want first, second, or third? He's like, what do you mean? First, second, or third? I mean, like you feel you won. I said, so we're going to go with first. And like I wasn't trying to be a jerk about it, but I was like, well, just go with first because you feel you won. You beat that guy out. So we'll go with first. So here's first place. Well, no, I don't want it if I didn't earn it. Well, then why are you standing here? Like, if you feel you were unfairly judged, then hey, it may have happened. Somebody might have missed something. Yep. Somebody rushed over it because they were in a hurry. Something came up. I'm not sure. But I'm here to try to make it right as the show promoter to say, hey, first, second, or third, take whatever one you want. And they wouldn't take them.
Yeah.
So then, so it was kind of funny.
I get every year for our show. I'm like, they're like, hey, I know it shows it's a mini truck show, but can I bring this car or whatever?
Right, yeah.
And it's like a Dodge Charger or something. I'm like, look, you can bring whatever you want.
Right.
I said, but you're probably not going to get an award.
Yeah. And you're not parking on the grass.
Not parking on the grass. So that's like, they're like, oh, why? And I'm like, well, it's a mini truck show.
Right.
But if you want to come and be part of it, then that's totally fine.
Well, that's like, this is mini truck and that's.
Yeah.
And, some people are like, well, why isn't this is not a mini truck? Why is it here? It's like, well, everybody's welcome. But it's mostly mini trucks.
Yeah. And there's trucks and cars that you can tell are mini truck inspired.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
That's a hard thing to convey to people too, because I'll get like a K5 Blazer and they're like, can I bring this? And it's laid out on the ground.
100%.
Like, yeah, that's a mini truck style.
Yeah.
Like
Sure, it's not a mini truck.
Yeah, but the person that has that doesn't know that they
Mm-hmm.
have a mini truck style vehicle. It goes back to the
that's
body
what I
drop
was
thing.
talking
It's
about.
just like, it's this laid out truck, and you're like, oh yeah, you just have a big mini truck.
Yeah, yeah. It's just your mini truck got wet and grew. That's all.
Yeah,
But I remember a guy in the club used to have a full size, because be like, oh, my lowrider, or you got your lowrider. I'd be like, that's a mini truck. He's like, well, what do I call mine? Full size truck? It's not a mini truck. And I'm like, I don't care what you call it, but mine's not a lowrider.
I don't care what you call it. I'm still doing what I'm doing.
It's just different. I mean, it's just different. But you call it what you want. I just call it a mini truck.
Yep.
It's just called awesome. Let's just go cruise.
Yeah,
let's
just go cruise. Let's go to a show. Go hang out. Go cruise. We'll just have fun. I like that.
Yeah. So what's your plans for this week? So it's Tuesday, right?
It's Tuesday today.
Try to stay dry.
Yeah.
I know. I've been kind of like listening to the rain, man. It's been getting rowdy and then go away and then.
How about that? It's thunder at 6 a.m.
Oh my god!
Was that at 6 a.m.?
That was at 6 a.m.
It felt like it
felt like it was in the house. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. It was wild. Yeah. So, for people listening, so we're at this Airbnb and like 6 o'clock in the morning. It had to been like right over us.
It's
this
the drop
thunder
cabin.
goes off. It shook the windows.
Yeah. It was serious.
It was rowdy. I thought it was
something fell off the wall. It was serious. It was. I mean, it was.
I just hope it just kind of goes away a little bit. More this
well, I just hope on the weekend.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure you guys don't want to replace any more tents.
Well, I'm not worried about the wind. We got the wind thing down last year. It took us quite a while to take our stuff down because we drill things into the ground.
Water bags.
Our stuff ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
It will rip the tops off of those easy ups before it rips the stuff out of the ground. Yeah, I just want a little bit of a drier weekend, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Yeah, it's all subject to change. I mean, the mountains, you want different weather. Wait 15 minutes. Like it's. I mean, really, it could change.
Yeah.
But the weather's not looking great. So I don't know what we're getting into. Don't really have any plans. Just catch up with whoever. I know last year we kind of talked about, you're like, oh, we'll do different things during the day. We're like, hey, let's all meet up at this park or
I had
do
this
that.
grand plan.
It was a good plan. It's hard to put together.
It is hard to put together. I think, but what I want to do next year, this is my next year.
I'm in.
Next year, I'm going to bring my Tacoma.
Yes. I love the Tacoma, by the way.
So thank you.
So excited.
I want to do it.
I want to apologize. You know what's even better than the Tacoma? Your smile when you drive it.
Like, what smile?
Yeah.
For real, dude. It's just, I mean, it's your happy place. Like, you're so excited to drive that truck. And
I am.
That's
the first day we took it out, we took it from Panda's shop to the show, and I'm filming him driving it, and
I'm like this.
Yeah. Nervous.
I'm not. My truck's, there's holes in the floor and the firewall. I can see the road between the door and the thing.
Perfect.
And I'm just like, this thing's about to fall apart. So I'm just like, just make it through. Just make it to the show. But now that I've driven it more,
I can tell you are.
And I got the new wheels on it.
Yeah.
It has definitely now I just zip that thing around.
The most excited I saw him. So we were at the Forbidden show, and we have a friend named Shane who has a Tacoma as well. And they were both excited because they were driven to the show this year.
Yeah.
And not driven to the show, but
driven into the show. And so I'm walking by, and I was talking to him or something, and he sees Shane take off. He's like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
And he just drops. He
Dude,
jumps
I seen it on the video.
Yeah. And that was
you guys
that
are both
video,
cruising.
and
It's so
cruising
awesome.
around. That's the happiest I've seen him since the truck's been built.
Yeah. So I was also happy because the show was over.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's
But
a good point too.
think about it like that. Like, truck's not done. It's not painted. It's not complete.
Oh yeah, I've already broken the bedside supports.
But you're excited to drive it.
Oh yeah.
And that's what the shit's about. Like, fucking enjoy it.
Yeah.
Freaking enjoy it. I'm sorry.
okay.
I keep messing.
But I would love to do something here, like on Wednesday, where we just meet at this lot and then drive through the canyon to Cherokee, and go get donuts and then drive back.
All right.
Something as simple as that, because what we've all probably figured out is that when you try to plan a lot of things, or a big thing,
it's a lot.
You get to the thing and you're just like, that's not going to work out.
Yeah.
Like even this, I was like, oh, we'll do a bunch of podcasts. I was like, no, we planned 3.
Yeah.
Because it just eats up your day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot to do this. Same thing with doing stuff for the magazine.
Yeah.
I got planned to shoot features.
Yeah.
What time are you doing dinner? I don't know that I'm going to make it. You know what I mean?
And that's why getting here early for us is
Yeah.
nice, because that's what we would wake up on Friday morning and not leave the hotel and not return to the hotel till midnight.
Right. That's a long day.
Shut the booth down, go film cruising, back and forth, and just hang out and having fun, and then back to the hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be cool this week to just kind of chill and kind of take everything in.
Yeah. Well, there's you can do as much as you want or as little as you want. You know, like Gatlinburg's really cool.
That's
Yeah.
what
we checked that out last year.
You know
We're
what
going to Pigeon Forge.
You know what was awesome?
Well, we're going to Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge.
Oh, well, yeah. Don't you have to drive through there to get to the
Well,
other
we're
one?
going to Gatlinburg mostly and Pigeon, like half.
Oh,
You know what was cool? When I seen you guys talking about the earthquake ride. I was just like, this is
was
not
the
what an
best
earthquake
thing
is
ever.
like. I was just like, that was so great. So there's another ride.
Is there another ride just like that?
No,
'Cause
it's
we
not
have
like
to-
that,
oh.
but it was a dinosaur ride or something in Pigeon Forge.
Oh, is it still there?
It's well, at least it was a couple years ago. My kids were like, "We want to do that," and we're like, "Let's do the Titanic Museum or the Mobster Museum. Like, let's go check out some of this stuff." They're like, "No, we want to do the dinosaur ride." Holy crap! It's like $20 a head. So we spent like $80, you know, because there was just 4 of us down there that year, and we spent $80 to ride through this horrible ride. And we got out.
Dinosaur rides there because we're going on it.
But even the earthquake ride was like $17 a person.
Yeah, like it's crazy. So.
We expected more.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was so disappointed, but we got out. We were laughing hysterically because the ride was so bad.
That's
And,
what makes it
exactly-
worth
I was
it,
just
because
like,
you're
man, we
how
could have
bad
did.
this be?
Yeah.
We could have did, you know, one of these other things which get awesome reviews, and no, we did the dinosaur ride, which was. It's probably one of the worst things I've ever ridden.
That's over. We're going to do that.
It's going to do something, or like go up or down, and it just is done.
Yeah, it was like just a cart ride around here with a dinosaur on the wall. It was a
The
raw.
earthquake ride, it just moved forward 8 feet, and we're like,
And we were like so excited getting on, and the guy
It's so good, dude.
putting us on the ride, we're all like all excited, and you can see on his face now looking back, you see on his face like, oh, these people are gonna be
idiots.
disappointed.
Yeah.
There you
Like
go.
we
Bye.
live out in California, we're used to earthquakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which
That's
suddenly
not an
we're having
earthquake.
earthquakes in Delaware every once in a while,
Oh,
which is
really?
odd.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
You know, we just had one, but it's crazy. Like we don't have that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Everything's changed. The world's changing.
The robots will take over soon and tell us what to do. Don't worry.
Yeah. Just
Cyberdyne
put in
network,
chat
dude.
GPT.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, Gatlinburg, we're gonna go ride
Yeah.
some mountain coasters.
Yeah,
and,
that looks really fun.
yeah.
No, we
Do
hit
some
Pigeon
go-karts.
Forge.
I did that in up at the Poconos once. On Mountain
We did
Coast.
that last year on Thursday, same thing, right?
Mhm.
And but this year we have another buddy flying in Wednesday night, and then all of us are going up there.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of
So
fun.
at this point, like, you know, because we don't have the kids with us, so it's just me and the wife. Like, we don't really have like everybody's coming in town. So like the guys from Canberra that are staying at the cabin next door, like they invited me to go do something tonight. You know what I mean? So I mean, there's so many people here, and everybody's, hey, you want to do this? Want to do that? So there's lots of stuff to do, but
Yeah.
we don't have any set plans. But like we just got back, we went to visit a friend in Georgia. But you know, I knew you guys wanted to do this, and I know you have other things. So I was like, well, they don't have nothing to do, so let's go down there and get it knocked
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
And
that's cool.
I
We
truly, I'm
appreciate
honored to be a guest. Like, I don't think that I'm that interesting to be on here. or
No,
worthy
this has been a great conversation.
to be worthy of a guest here. And I hope that, you know, those that do watch it enjoy the video. You know, not that I'm trying to wrap it up. We'll talk about whatever. I don't.
Yeah, no,
you know,
hey. No, it's all good, man. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is really cool.
So what's next for you
As far as shows,
as far as everything? Just keep going to shows.
yeah, well, living. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? We touch on the health thing or no?
Yeah.
if you want
it's up
to.
to you.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? So,
It's actually not a bad thing too, because there are a lot of people that are getting a little older, and
Yeah.
it's not a bad thing to advocate for, like,
get yourself
checks.
checked out.
Yeah.
Get yourself checked out.
Yeah.
So, back in December, and
of
if I think about it,
2020.
of 2024.
Okay.
So,
So 4 or 5 months.
I
ago.
started having some odd stomach pain, and which caused my wife to make me go to the hospital and get checked out. And here I thought that I just was backed up or something and had, like, not to be gross,
Get
but
cleared
I
out.
I was just full of crap.
Yeah.
Well, they did a scan, and they came in to tell me that, you know, I didn't have a poop baby, as they were referred to as a Chipotle burrito, just lodged in there. They said that they started asking me questions, had I been passing blood or throwing up blood or anything like that? And I'm like, no. Did you see something in the scan? Well, turns out I had a baseball-sized mass in my stomach, so which they transferred me to the hospital, and I spent 5 days in the hospital and found out that I had cancer in my stomach, not stomach cancer, but it's called a GIST tumor, which is a gastrointestinal stromal tumor. It's a very rare cancer, but it was the size of a baseball, and it was in between my stomach and stomach lining, and it was pushing up under my stomach. So I have pictures of an endoscopy. You can see it looks like there's a ball pushing up inside my stomach. So I spent 5 days in the hospital. They ran some tests, and fortunately, I was able to go home Christmas Eve and spend Christmas with my family. And of course, when they tell you, hey, you have cancer, it's pretty scary.
Oh, yeah.
You're going through all the emotions, all the feelings, and the thoughts. My oldest daughter's married. I have 2 more daughters, so Sarah, Emily, and Anna. They're not married. One's in college. The other one's getting ready to graduate high school in a couple of weeks. So they're younger, and I'm just like, man, I don't have any grandkids. Not that I want grandkids yet, but sure, if I have them, I'll take them. But I'm just thinking man, I have cancer. Am I going to die soon? What's going on? What does this mean? So I spent 5 days in the hospital, left there with no information. Fortunately, a friend works at the Philly hospital and referred me. He says, hey, we were talking about getting a second opinion anyway, because anytime you're dealing with something like that, don't take the first word, especially if it's life-changing, life-threatening, potential disease or illness. Get a second opinion, because doctors could be wrong, or somebody might, go find a specialist that may, tell you what you need to do, or, you might make a decision and find out that you didn't have to make that decision. So I ended up going to Philly, and, thanks to Penn Medicine and Dr. DiMatteo, that I went in to see him with the same scans and the same information just for my second opinion. And this guy's world-renowned for his research, and he's a specialist in this type of cancer. He tells me exactly what's going on in 15 minutes. I knew exactly what was going on, where I was at, what was happening. He's like, so you're going to need surgery. I'm like, well, when do you want to do it? And I said, well, I haven't ate since yesterday morning, so I'm good to do surgery today. And he's like, well, I can't do today. He says, but how's Tuesday? And this was Friday. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? This guy's world renowned. Most people trying to get in with doctors, especially specialists, we'll see you in 6 months.
Yeah.
From the time I called him, I seen him in 3 days, to, hey, he had me in surgery 4 days later. So they did a surgery. They cut me from belly button to sternum, and they removed 20% of my stomach and 6.5 inches of my colon. But I'm very fortunate. So this type of cancer is very survivable if it's caught early.
Yeah.
Which most cancers, if they're caught early, are survivable. So survivability is 93% or so if you Google it. But if it gets into other organs, it dramatically drops. So it's 50%, 51%. So mine head was leaking. So initially when he looked at the scan, he says it's leaking, and it's leaking cancer cells and, whatever the tumor, making up the tumor, into your pelvic area, and that's just sitting in there, which is pretty scary because that's going to just get into other things. Fortunately, this type of cancer doesn't travel in lymph nodes, so there's no risk there, but it can get into other organs. So somehow when they opened me up, the tumor was contained. It was leaking, but it was contained whatever was leaking within itself. So that was out of the picture. However, it did perforate the stomach lining and attached itself to my colon. So that's why they took 6.5 inches of my colon. I can poop faster now. Not really.
Shorter route.
not really. But that's the thing. And so the oncologist, I followed up with the doctors, and they're like, very good that we caught it when we did. Because because it was in the other organs. Had we not, it would have been a very different conversation.
Yeah.
I didn't have any radiation. Didn't have any chemo. I didn't have anything. I had surgery, and prior to that, I was trying to lose weight just because being unhealthy, and I'm overweight. And I felt bad, so started eating healthy, and said that was the beginning of December, and I still haven't stopped. So I'm down 45 pounds.
That's great. Yeah.
It's not due to the removing part of my stomach, because he said, look, you want to eat a full pizza, you can eat a whole pizza. I said, I can't eat a whole pizza now. But he's like, this isn't going to affect you at all, because your stomach will stretch out. It's no big deal. But just making different life choices. And I feel probably better than I have in probably 20 years.
That's good.
Yeah.
So when it comes to health, if you got something going on, especially listen to your wife, if you have a wife, or listen to somebody saying, hey, you need to get that checked out. Because had I not listened to her, there's a good chance that, maybe this would have had a different ending.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be able to come to mini nats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I could be jammed up right now and on my way out the door.
Yeah.
You don't know.
That's my
You don't have
biggest
crystal
thing
ball.
is like with me trying to get healthier, like stopping drinking a long time ago and
Yeah.
just trying to eat healthier, losing weight and all that stuff, because I know there's going to come a time when I do go to the doctor and the doctor says, you have to stop doing that and you have to stop
Yep.
doing that and you have to stop doing that. My brain, I go, well, if I stop doing it and I lose the weight,
100%.
I'm not going to be told to do it. You know what I mean? Because I just do it on my own and it's just a little bit easier.
So what's crazy is, for one, and you can go down a rabbit hole with this, but our food is all poison. All the chemicals and everything that's in our food is poisoning us. And it's really the spikes in cancers, and you can look into all this stuff. And there's a lot of data that backs all this stuff up. So now I just eat whole foods. Just single ingredient foods. I don't eat any processed foods or anything like that.
Processed foods are one of those things where we eat them too much.
Yeah. 100%.
Everything in moderation. So if you have a
Moderation
bag
would be
of
okay.
chips or you have a bowl of cereal or if you have this, it's fine. But
Yeah.
we do it every day.
Yeah.
And that's
Should.
the problem is you're doing it every day. Like
Yeah.
treat yourself.
Yeah.
If you're,
Well, my doctors even tell me that. Like, look, dude, you want to eat cake? Have cake. I'm not eating cake.
yeah.
They're like, eat cake. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not eating cake.
Yeah.
I love ice cream. I'm not having ice cream.
Yeah.
I'm not. I just,
Yeah.
I feel too good to go
Yeah.
back.
I like ice cream and pizza.
Yeah. Oh,
So my treats
Let's get
every
some. I'm
every
just saying. I'm not.
every once in a while
Yeah.
is I'll get pizza. Or every once in a while I'll have some ice cream. But
Yeah.
it's not every day or every other day or every 3 days like it
Right.
was before, And,
Yeah.
and again, eating clean.
So I'm just on a journey to continue to healthy. I will have some of that stuff eventually, but like I still want to lose another 15, 20 pounds to be where I'm at and just
Yeah.
get healthier. Like I said, the way I feel, it's crazy. Like when I say it, people are like, oh, like literally I feel better than I had probably in 20 years.
Yeah.
Like
And
no
if you're
bullshit.
younger than we
Yeah.
are in
Yeah.
our
Like
40s, if you're in your 20s, if you're in your 30s, do it now.
Yeah.
If you're overweight,
Yep.
it's not easy to lose weight. It's all mental. It's all a
Yeah.
mental thing.
Yeah.
But
It's very hard to lose weight.
it is very hard. But it's hard just to get into the mental state of it. But anyone can do it.
Yeah, you can.
And you will not only live longer, but you will live longer in the fact that because there's things that you can't do when you're overweight
Yep.
or you know what I mean, that are harder to do.
Yep.
And then when you lose the weight, you want to do them.
Which, at my age, I'm very fortunate. I'm not on any medication.
Yeah.
And I was on blood pressure medicine, but I stopped taking that because I said, I could just change my diet. I can get off this because I don't want to take any medication.
Yeah.
There's guys my age that they have the pill bottles lined up. And I'm
Yeah.
like, damn, dude, how old are you?
Yeah, I'm
But
43 and I got that.
Yeah, people, I mean, so that's crazy.
Yeah.
But
But you would be surprised at what you didn't need to take if you
Yep.
didn't drink, didn't eat this
Yep.
certain ways, didn't
100%.
do this. You could get off of those medications.
Yeah.
You don't. A lot of people don't think they can, but yeah, you can. You can just stop taking them.
What's crazy is so I just had lab work done, and I was always just because of being fat, and unhealthy, borderline diabetic, and I'm still overweight.
I know. I've lost 80 something pounds. I'm still morbidly obese.
Dude, there's guys that are 5'8", and they're like, oh, he's 160 pounds. They're like, you're morbidly obese. I'm like, I can see that guy's ribs. He's not morbidly obese. So
Yeah.
but still, 80 pounds. That's hats off to you, dude. That's tremendous. That's all. That's a large child.
Yeah.
But back to my blood work. So I just had lab work done. Dude, my cholesterol, fantastic. I was always borderline diabetic, high cholesterol, all this stuff, all this death sentence stuff, or you're gonna be on medications for the rest of your life. And I didn't listen to the warning signs. I wasn't listening to the doctors. Oh, you need to get this under control and change your diet. Yeah. I'm gonna go eat this pizza. I'm gonna have ice cream. I'm gonna eat this and do that. Now, the doctor was just like, whatever you're doing, keep doing, because even my testosterone, it's doubled, more than doubled.
Yeah.
Fantastic. By just eating clean.
Yeah.
All my stuff is completely reversed. Anything that was wrong is, I think I still vitamin D. I need to, take some supplements to bring up some vitamin levels, but everything was wrong has been corrected.
Yeah.
And just by changing my diet, which is crazy. So for you listeners or viewers or whatever, listen to your wife, listen to your doctors or whatever, get checked out, because we want to see you around. Seriously, we're burying too many friends that are, as we're getting older, maybe.
And don't make excuses.
No.
You can do it. Anyone can do it.
You can. So be a better you, for you and for your families and those
for
who
us,
care about you.
because we like you.
How many tears have we all shed for friends that have died in recent years, whether it was COVID which COVID almost killed me too, but whether it's one of these things or just whatever. And it's so sad. And you look at these people that are our age or a little older, a little younger, It's like, man, like, and of course, if we get older, we keep pushing the envelope of what old is. Because when I was 20, I thought 50 was old.
Oh yeah.
Now that I'm 50, I don't think 60 and 70 is old.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
So it's like you keep pushing it, but like,
well, you look at those guys you guys were just talking about. These,
Vinny Stigma, almost 70 years old, playing in hardcore.
Yep.
Breaking his guitar in the pit, like amazing.
Yeah.
Like
we still
why
got a
can't you
lot
do
of
that?
life left in us, and it needs to be an enjoyable.
Yeah, we got truck shows to go to.
Yeah.
We got this
truck
to do.
shows
Whether
to
it's
go
not
to.
podcasts, but just making friends and enjoying the company with the people all over that we've got to talk to. Man, 'cause it's amazing.
We got little trucks to enjoy.
Like think about it. Like what else could you have done that you would ever experience this? Like that you traveled. That we would travel the country, meet the people, do the things you do. Like I wouldn't have ever probably went out to California or go to Texas. I've been to Texas so many times for LST and Texas heat wave back in the day. Like
well, I always say that this is a unique thing because there isn't a lot of scenes even within the automotive scene that is like this where you have this large group of friends.
That's huge. And it truly is a community.
Oh, yeah.
Like if it is and you're on the side of the road with something wrong, somebody in the area is going to come help you. You know what I mean? Like there's the Facebook group Mini Trucker Down or whatever, or somebody, they will network to find somebody that's in the area to help you. Whether they can just come get you off the road or bring you a tool or something. Like it's great. And when I bought my first dually, I flew out to Texas to get it, and the guy was a salesman, turned out to be a mini trucker.
Oh yeah.
And it was funny. I was talking to him on the phone, and he was like, "Look, he sent me pictures and videos, and I flew out there to get the truck, and just talking to him, I was like, yeah, I go to truck shows and stuff like that. He says, oh yeah, and we got to talking. I said Texas heat wave. I've been out there, and he was like, oh, well. And next thing you know, my dad, because my dad was retired, and I said, hey, Pop, let's fly to Wichita, Kansas, and you drive back with me. He was like, all right. So I bought him a plane ticket, and my dad was like, the whole conversation changed. You guys were like friends at that point.
Yeah.
It really, it was just like, here's this common bond that we have, and it's just awesome.
Yeah,
so enjoy it. Enjoy the people. Treat people right. Be good to people.
Be kind.
Be kind.
Be kind. Get checked out.
It doesn't cost a thing.
Yep.
Get checked out.
Yep. Exactly. Well,
cool. That was awesome, man. Thank you so much for sitting with us,
dude. This is awesome.
Heck yeah. I'm glad. You're a little nervous at first, but you settled in pretty good.
Yeah,
so.
So
let's go for another hour.
How long was this?
2 hours.
We're just about to hit 2 hours.
Holy shit.
That's what I'm saying. You just you just start to talk.
Yeah,
just
and
like
there's so much, like, I didn't talk about my club much. I didn't talk about,
Well, tell us about your club. We got time. I don't know. You got to be anywhere?
I don't have to be anywhere.
No, I don't have to be anywhere either.
Well, all right, so we'll touch on just real quick. So the Low Rollers Truck Club. So we started in 92. We're a small all-truck club out of Delaware. Like I said, we have chapters, or not chapters, but, guys from the surrounding states, a couple guys. But, like, we hosted our own show for 20 years. But it's really cool, like, to be, like, I love my club. I love my little LR logo. I love these guys. And it's just cool. It's just cool. We're not a nationwide club, so we don't get the recognition and the, notoriety. But, of course, there's a lot of people that have a lot of respect for us, which is awesome.
That's cool.
You know what I mean? And we've paid our dues. And
it is weird.
Been around a long time.
In the club world, you got the clubs that you got the massive clubs.
Yeah.
And then when he was talking earlier about like the hierarchy, it's not necessarily like it is kind of a hierarchy where we are in a sense, but
it is.
But when you talk about like the worldwide, there's these huge clubs, and then there's these clubs that have been around for. Take for example, Perfect Poise.
Yeah.
They're not this huge world, but in the Phoenix area,
awesome.
But in the Phoenix area, they're one of the main clubs that have some of the nicest vehicles.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest people are in that club, and they've been around forever. They throw a show.
Yep.
But like you said, they don't get sometimes that recognition because it's not that big.
Yeah.
That big nationwide club or whatever.
Yeah. So it's really cool. I like being my little small club.
Who founded that club?
So a guy, Marco Rivera, and Franny Warner. Started the club in 92, and it kind of started as a joke. And I think you can see back in the mini trucking directories, back to 93, I think was the first time, 93 or 94 was the first time you seen Low Rollers Truck Club listed out of Delaware, which was cool. And I still have his original back window. So I have the first Low Rollers logo. It's hanging in my garage. It's still got his name, the little sticker, decal name on there. So really cool. I'm so glad that Marco entrusted me with that and felt that, I would cherish it and appreciate it for what it is. Because it's really, at least for our area, it's mini truck history. I mean, I've been logoed since '94. You know what I mean? So
Are you the current president of your club?
we don't have structure
just
like
sorta
that. Like
just
we're just
exist.
you know. So
Like
I
an
guess
unofficial, official
yeah, I guess so.
representative.
We
type thing.
did we did away with titles years ago. You know, we had a board of directors and all that. You know, it's kind of.
We used to do the same thing. Every
Yeah.
year we'd vote,
Yeah.
nominate, vote,
Yep.
and then we kind of just went away.
Like we used to do meetings all the time,
Yeah.
stuff like that, and you know everybody's just busy with life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People are like, oh, I don't have time to meet the second Sunday of every month to do that, and you know, really, I'm trying to get back to that. You know, of course, my family's grown, and some of the guys have younger families, and you know, we still get new guys every once in a while, and some other guys are like, oh, I'm just sell their trucks or whatever, move on because life changes and your interest change. So,
Well, you have
So-
to. You get older and as your members get older and and all that, the club has to change and alter certain things.
yeah.
Like you said, going for meetings every week. Not everyone has time to do that.
Right.
So what are you going to do? Kick everyone out that can't
Yeah,
make it?
can't go to this show.
Can't go to
That's
the
all right.
show? Whatever. Don't have time to build a truck. I got to
Yep.
take 5 years off. It's like, cool.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
everything has to adapt.
Yeah, we've got guys that still have logos on their truck that aren't active, and
Yeah.
they're just doing the family thing, and
Yeah. And they'll
you
be
know,
back around.
Like some guys are like, "Oh, are we going to take their logo off?" I'm like, "No, I'm not taking
yeah,
their
I
logo
don't know.
off."
Yeah.
Our timelines kind of did the
Yeah,
same
you guys
thing, so-
are 94, right?
93.
93.
I didn't start the club. It was Todd
Yeah.
Ramber. And I took it over in 90. I got in 95, took it over in 98. And then we started throwing our show in 98.
Yeah,
And yeah, just ever since then, it's just
yeah.
kinda
So
the same
I
thing.
got in '94, and I want to say it was probably '95 or '96 that I became vice president because Franny was still pretty active, and then he lost an uncle who he was very close with, helped him build his truck. He was actually had the first featured truck in Low Rollers, but his uncle passed, and he just kind of distanced himself from the truck so much, and so then it was just like, okay, well, you're prez, and we never really, I don't think we really had a vice prez, but like
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah, like
into the
you said,
title
you're
things,
not
like
really into the
I,
title
it's
things.
The
just
titles were
exist.
fun when you were younger.
Yeah.
When we
Yeah.
had the Sergeant of Arms and
Yeah.
the
So,
historian.
like here's the thing, we're a small club, like
Yeah.
we maybe have a dozen guys, you know what I mean, at this point, like we'll go up and down as people come around and interest change.
It's enjoyable like that.
Yeah,
Like-
I like it.
Yeah.
Like we come down here 2 years ago, we had mostly everybody here, which was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Not the guys that aren't active right now, but and it was just really cool to see us representing out there. You know what I mean, like that. It was just awesome. So, I appreciate it. I like being us. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I've experienced both. My previous club to being in Forbidden was a very structured club, and same thing. Like you had president, vice president, secretary. It was all very structured and minutes and dues and meetings, and it was great, and it worked out for a while, and then until it didn't work out. But now this whole thing that we got going on now, is sort of like a more mellow vibe,
Yep.
And we talk a lot
We're
about
older. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, and that's
not gonna
the other
have all
thing.
the BS
Yeah,
that
that's
goes
the
with
other
it.
thing. And we talk a lot about like never saying you're gonna like get out or stop doing it.
Right.
Just people ebb and flow.
Yeah,
Just all the time,
100%.
ebb and flow.
100%. So, yeah. So the club, hats off to Low Rollers. Thanks for being a home for me and
That's
everybody
cool.
involved for all the years. Everybody that's come and gone. I appreciate every single one of you. I really do.
Awesome.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, I guess our show. We've done a lot. We're over 2 hours here.
No, it's all good, man.
Yeah, you'd be
It's
editing
all
shit
good.
out.
We'll do a follow up next year.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
See how things went.
Yeah. Or when we have.
we went down a lot of rabbit holes here.
Yeah, we did.
Mhm.
Or when Frank goes and visits you out there and goes to some shows.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude.
come
Heck
out
yeah,
seriously.
dude. Oh, no, yeah, I'm serious.
I want to come out and do it
with
at a
you.
Red Sox game and all that stuff like that.
and
that-
go to
Dude,
a
if you
hardcore show.
ever, if you ever, come to New York or Boston or Philadelphia, Philadelphia I'll drive up to, but New York, I'll jump right on a train and ride right up. Like,
That's cool. Heck
like
yeah.
I'll meet you there. Like if you're coming to hang out, seriously, I'll come hang out for the day or
I'm
whatever.
down.
Yeah, when
Down.
John Matta came out to cover our show, and I actually took him on a train. We went up, spent the night in Times Square. I took him all over the place,
That's
to
cool.
to New York and stuff like that. So that
You,
was-
do you like it? Like when people come visit you, do you like to like show around and like take them places and stuff?
it doesn't matter.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like
'Cause
I,
I'm like that when people come out to the West Coast, and if I'm available, like I love taking them all over,
Yeah.
showing them different things.
Yeah. Well, so like John didn't want to do like the touristy stuff. He was like, we did Times Square. Like we stayed like a couple blocks from Times Square, which was cool. But we were going to a place called 5 Points in I think it was Queens, a big graffiti spot.
cool.
Like we just went around and seen different things, which was cool.
I always say you have to experience both.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
so
both.
there's, I mean,
gotta
the
do that
touristy stuff,
touristy
like
stuff.
yeah, if you ever go to New York, like the 9/11 museum is
Yeah.
really something to see. It's
Yeah.
a sombering thing. It's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. To
2 years
stand
ago,
there
I
and look
went
at
to
that,
New
but-
York. We stayed in Times Square, and
Yeah.
we did all the touristy stuff.
Yeah.
The Statue of Liberty.
You should have called it.
And I didn't know.
Yeah.
Now I know.
Yeah, now you know.
Yeah. But yeah, did all that, and I would like to go back and then kind of get a little bit deeper into the non-touristy
Yeah.
stuff.
And I mean, I'm not a New York specialist. Like, I mean, I know my way around there pretty good. I know a lot of the things because I was up there for school for work for a little bit, and I took that time to walk around everywhere because taking my family up there to know where to go, where not to go, which there wasn't really places I found not to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So, but we used to go up to New York all the time.
So would you say that like you're more well versed in like Philadelphia? Like that's your
Philly's. I mean, yeah, I know Philly pretty good.
Okay.
You know what I mean? All depending on what you want to see.
Well, I'm just curious,
Yeah.
like if there's any particular city they're like, oh, this is
Well, so I mean, it's
where I'm
history
from
rich.
kind
So
of
that
thing.
yeah, that's. I mean, I don't claim to be. I'm south from Philly. I'm from Delaware. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I spent a lot of time in Philly going to just punk and hardcore shows.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been a lot, around the city.
your
There's
way
just
around.
He don't claim Philly because he's not from Philly.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. I'm not.
it's from a completely different state, so that's
Yeah.
different.
Well, Philly's not a state.
No, I know, but
It's
like,
not-
but
it's
like
a-
you're
it's
not
a
part
huge
of
city, but-
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
You're from Delaware.
Yeah.
Okay, moving. Anyway, thanks.
Yeah. So if you guys do come out anyway, like whatever,
I want to
Come
go
around.
and eat lobster rolls.
Yeah.
Just go out into the New England or wherever
Yep, New
the
England.
lobster rolls
Yep,
are and
Maine.
do that. Yeah.
That
Stuff
sounds
like
good.
that. So
Well, cool.
yeah.
He always accuses me of cutting it off short.
Well, this is a long episode.
But
if
I think-
you do all this, I don't know what you edit out, but this is
No, nothing. This
Really?
It's raw dog.
Nothing. Unless someone says something.
dude. Somebody's gonna be like, dude, like this was too much.
Actually, no one has ever said take that out, please.
Yeah.
Maybe once or twice, but
it's
not really.
usually us. When we're talking together, we'll be like,
"Ooh, okay, let's-
We
all right,
shouldn't
write
have,
that
or if we can't remember someone's name,
That's
Yeah.
usually what
That's
happens.
usually-
that's
that's
when we have to cut it out.
95%. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But they'll. We've never had guests that said anything weird or anything like
Yeah.
that.
It's been super chill.
No, I'm fine with what I said. There's definitely a lot of more stuff. I probably instead of going down these rabbit holes, was like rabbit
Those are
holes.
the most fun things to go to.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like
there's
you
all
know,
the
hey, who are you? Where you're from? Tell me about your club, your inspirations.
Well,
You know what I
we
mean?
did-
All the
yeah.
structure stuff. Hey, what trucks inspired you? You know what I mean? Or who? Blah blah blah. But
yeah.
I touched on a little bit of everything. But
Yeah.
We're good. Well, we appreciate it. Well, thanks for checking out this week's episode. I hopefully I didn't cut anybody off because I get accused of that sometimes.
No, you didn't cut me off.
You didn't cut me off.
See you next week.
Thanks.
Bye.